Hello, everybody, and welcome to the MinnMax Show, a place about games, friends, and getting better. Thank you for being here. My name is Ben Hanson. I'm joined by Leo Vader.
Thanks, man.
And a post-break Sarah Podzorski.
So refreshed.
So, honestly, do you feel refreshed in any way after this break?
No.
Yeah.
No. Definitely feels like I'm strapped to the wheel again.
It's weird. I am kind of in the same boat where obviously this job is a privilege. It's awesome, but I think I was expecting to come in like raring to go. I'm so eager to talk, but it turns out you get used to any groove you're in. If your groove is podcasting every day, that's your groove, and you're going to feel exactly the same as you do every day. If your groove is sitting on a couch reading Gone Girl, which I did, which I don't recommend doing right before getting married, that's just your groove, right? You're just locked into a zone. And so it doesn't really feel like this triumphant thing. For listeners, however, we never really left. But for us, last time we recorded together was January 17th, I think was when we did the grand finale for the 210s.
December 17th.
That's right. Thank you. And speaking of, it's been a while, because I guess we were, Suriel Vazquez back on the show.
Hello. This is my first time back on the main show. We did Deepest Dive recording yesterday, in fact.
I know. Yeah. So we did. We just finished off the Deepest Dive on Halo Infinite's campaign. Suriel Vazquez was on that. Jeffem, Kyle Hilliard, Wade Wojcik, who we cannot kiss his ass enough because all of us finished the Halo campaign. And it was like, yeah. Holograms. Something was going on there. And then Wade just cracked open the Halo thesaurus and just explained everything in the most beautiful way. So you can check out the Deepest Dive in Halo Infinite on our YouTube channel, or you can unlock the podcast version over on Patreon, of course, as well. Do you enjoy getting back in the podcasting groove there, Suriel?
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun being able to talk to Wade. I like just listening to his like lore dives. I think was awesome. Just seeing like here's the context that you need to figure out. This game's very elaborate and kind of confusing story. Was really fun to get through.
Yeah, Leo, how's Halo Infinite going for you?
I still dabble. It's still a quick boot when I've got nothing else to do for 20 minutes.
Yeah, the campaign stuff.
Multiplayer.
Oh, just the multiplayer?
Yeah, I haven't gotten the campaign yet.
Well, that's nice. But you like the multiplayer?
Yeah, I like the shooting.
Yeah, the shooting's kind of fun.
Guys fall down.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. On this episode of the podcast, we have a lot to get through. We have a little bit about what we've been playing over the break, although we recorded a bonus podcast all about that. You can find it on our YouTube channel, Patreon exclusive podcast feed. Check it out, please. Then we're going to talk about our top 10 lists of the year. Our definitive top 10 lists. And this is really the perfect episode because it's our most subjective list with our own personal top 10 lists for games of 2021. And then this is the only podcast that I know of that actually has the objective actual top 10 list for the games of 2021 because we polled hundreds and hundreds of people in the MinnMax Discord, and we hive-minded this sucker. So we have the definitive list, everybody. The one that no matter what, you can't argue with. That is the community top 10 that's going to be coming up a little bit later on in the show.
If no arguments were used to build it, no arguments can be used to tear it down.
That's right. Exactly.
It's also their fault. Like if someone is mad at hearing that list, it's like, we didn't do it. This was your fault. You don't get to be mad at us for this one.
Yeah, we're going to mail you a frickin' mirror. Hey, Suriel, I don't want to put you on the spot, but did you listen to the 210s, or did you see our final list for the 210s?
I did. I listened to that. I listened to the both podcasts.
That's very sweet.
Which was fun.
Thank you.
Was it on the outside of that.
Yeah, was it frustrating? I'd imagine if I was in your shoes, I would be screaming because like I should be in this discussion.
There were a couple moments where I was like, I would have done this, I would have done this differently. But like for the most part, I thought you guys did a pretty good job of laying out, like why, most of the games were where they were. There were a couple games that I wasn't necessarily mad about placement because it's like, the taste is so subjective. But I think a lot of Game of the Year conversations tend to gloss over games that everyone is like, oh, okay, yeah. Like that, we all agreed that this is one of the best games of the year, right? So I feel like I'm looking for the list now, but it does feel like a little bit of like Deathloop was like under discussed of just like where like I'm not like I think for that group Deathloop is where it belongs.
Number 3.
I would have liked to have seen like, okay, we're gonna go through these games and kind of reinforce why they're on their place on the list versus like, well, we all know Deathloop is really good. We all know Metroid Dread is really good. And talk about those games specifically, because I think those conversations are more like the best use of these lists are as an outlet to talk about the game specifically, right?
Yeah, I hear you. There's things like that are near the top that it's like, well, this is just assumed. You're right that it's easy to gloss past. I'm kind of amazed by Deathloop. I feel like when it came out, maybe it's just because I was talking about it, but it felt like the entire industry is like, well, this is going to be the game industry's game of the year. And I feel like it really, not soured, but dropped more than I thought before the overall game of the year discussions for so many outlets out there. I'm surprised it didn't win more. I think it got like GameSpots, right, Leo?
Yeah, I didn't see it win very many at all.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising.
Yeah, there's actually a site called GameAwards.org, which is not like the Game Awards. It is like basically a site that aggregates all of them.
Yeah. And
I'm pretty sure It Takes Two is still at the top with like the most Game Awards taken, which is, I find that surprising because like I thought that game was fun, but I like it was not a game that stood out to me as like, this is like the best game of the year.
Well, I can tell because you said Game Awards taken instead of given, implying that It Takes Two is out there.
Well, like it took awards, right? Like that.
Right.
Stolen. Awards stolen.
Right. Say what you mean.
Downloaded from Pirate Bay.
Leo, you'd be happy to hear, at least I hope you would, that of all the games that I played over the break, I tried to do you one good one, buddy, by booting up Riders Republic again. I'm like, I need to give it another go. I'm going to get it on my PC. It made the list. Leo loves it so much. And I was absolutely delighted by the cross-save stuff, which I know is like the least interesting thing to talk about with that game. But like just having it on PC and having it pick up exactly where I left off on Xbox, like, oh my God. Thank God I made a stupid Uplay account so many years ago so this little bit of magic happens. It's so nice.
Yeah, that's great, especially because that game has a too long tutorial. It would be a pain to do that again.
Yeah, and I think you're totally right. I think you made this point about like, you know, after the tutorial phase, when the personality of that game is definitely in hindsight and you can focus just on the gameplay, like it is fun. Like it is fun to have races where you're transitioning from bikes to jets and all that stuff. And Leo, I kind of had a good time with Riders Republic, man. I want you to know that.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah. Matthew Woksh writes in with a little early kickoff saying, hello, cohorts. Question for Leo. My lovely wife just bought me the Quest 2 for Christmas. What are some suggestions for the most fun games for VR? I'm very new to this space. I purchased Robo Recall and I'm having a blast. I'm open to all suggestions, no matter the genre. Good God.
Good God. Well, Sarah, you just got a Quest 2, right?
I have the Valve Index.
Oh, even better.
Ooh, la-di-da. Valve Index. What's that experience been like for you so far?
It's been kind of crazy because the only way I've experienced VR is at conventions where they put the thing on you for like 5 minutes and they rip it off and they're like, get out of here.
Because they have to hose it down and it's so gross. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you're like, everyone's watching me flail around and I feel judged. Mm-hmm. But so getting to experience it in your own home is crazy. And it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. But what they don't tell you is that if you're short in real life, you are also short in VR. And I didn't realize that. I was like, why am I still so short?
You can't like recalibrate it in some weird way to make yourself like 8 feet?
I think I could, and I probably will, because I'm like, I can't reach anything. I'm like, why is everything so high up?
For people that aren't aware, Sarah in real life is 4'3", I believe.
I'm 5'1" and a half on a good day.
That's right. Like, what game is it coming into play for?
I think I had to adjust Beat Saber because everything was a little wonky. And then I was playing.
Put a stepladder in front of yourself.
Yeah, just like stand on a ladder the entire time. And then I played Leo's game Mask Maker, which is honestly phenomenal. It got on my game of the year list at the 11th hour.
Oh wow.
It's so amazing. But I was like trying to reach for things because you have to like reach high, and I was like on my tiptoes. I was like, I can't reach it.
Oddly, jumping for things in VR is like such a tactile, fun thing to have to do every once in a while. But there are things like VR Chat where you can just pick a avatar that's 6'8" and you can live out your dreams that way.
My ideal VR game, I was thinking about this, is like you go to Target and you're like 6'3". I want to see what everybody else sees. I want to see the top shelf. I want to be able to see my mom all the way across the store. Like, this is the actual VR experience that I want. And if no one's going to make that game, I will.
Did you see the Walmart demo for what their vision of meta shopping would be?
Yeah, like the Walmart, I think that came out 4 years ago, but it was a very like VR where you're shopping in VR. And I would like to do that, honestly.
Yeah.
You need
a lot of the ways that companies are implementing technology to shop is very weird, and we're kind of reaching that stage where a lot of the stuff they're adding to those things just don't feel necessary. Like I was at a Walgreens recently, and instead of having like in the frozen shelf aisle, instead of having like those doors be see-through, they had screens that showed you like, here are the products here, which I imagine is like so people don't leave the door open and like, you know, let the cold air out. But I wonder what the cost benefit is of like, we have to run a screen basically here, and we have to pay for the screen, and then we have to maintain the electricity costs versus like having to chill everything. But a lot of it just feels like, it feels like technological. It feels like, it feels very modern to have that instead of just letting you see the products themselves.
Cyber.
Yeah, we're here, like 2022. I think we're at that point, and I think we've probably been here for a while of like, just technology for the sake of technology to just remind us that technically we're living in the future. Isn't this cool? You know, like maybe this is a controversial take, but like, hey, cool it, internet. I don't want to hear a lot of outbursts about this, but like the whole like Alexa thing, like the fact that people were buying these things for their homes still blows my mind. Like, I don't understand why. Like, this is your phone if you need it. Like, is it that helpful to be able to yell, Alexa, Google this for me? Like, I do not understand that idea at all. It's technology for the sake of technology in my mind. But
yes, like I think the best case scenario they always make is like, your hands are full with like, you know, you're cooking or like you have kids or whatever, and you can do it without like with things in both hands. But at that point, it's like Googling a recipe is not that big a deal. You can wait until your hands are free. You don't need this.
Right. Or you can have something just listening to you technically in your house at all times. Like, hey, that's the trade-off. You got dough in your hands sometimes. Come on.
Like at one point I got a Google Home Mini for free with something. I think it was like if you subscribe to Spotify one month.
Yeah, it was the Spotify thing.
It gave you a free Google Home Mini. And like the first thing it is, turn the microphone off, and it's just like a Bluetooth speaker in my house. Like that I just like whenever I go to shower and I just put music on, like that's the thing that I use, right?
Yeah.
So, but I have no intention and I have no desire to be like, oh yeah, Google play me a podcast, because it's like I always have my phone on me, so it's like I can just do that with my hands. I don't need to tell someone, you know, I don't need to give Google that data of when I listen to podcasts or whatever.
But you need it to play Jurassic World Revealed, that audio only game.
Yeah, which I play every day.
That's right. I do my dailies. Damn it, Leo. But Leo, answer Matthew's question here. What do you think, like top VR games to jump into here?
Specifically on Quest, assuming there's no PC that you can airlink to. I think Stride is great. If you like Mirror's Edge, it's like a parkour type of experience. I think Blast On is great. Rhymes with Gaston for spelling.
Thank you.
That's like a 1v1 bullet hell where you're shooting at each other and trying to dodge and using tactical shields to block and stuff. It's a really interesting multiplayer game. And the one I discovered over the break was Traffic Jams, which is you standing at an intersection and watching these characters walk up to the street and these cars come up to the crosswalk and just using with both your hands, pointing with one and gesturing with the other for them to come or for them to stop, and like directing traffic and filling these different goals that sometimes are cause a massive pileup or like get a dude hit by a car. It's a really fun game. Remarkably fun thing to do that I never would have guessed. You know?
That sounds so funny. So it's a guy like looking at an intersection. There's clearly cars coming. And he's like shaking his head. And you're like waving for him to come no matter what.
You're like, come on. No, it's safe. It's safe.
Would I have this job if it wasn't safe? Come on, dude.
Even though, yes, they're stopping because they're going towards a bus, but you're pulling them again. You're saying hurry up, so they make sure to hit it so you can hit your challenge.
That's amazing. Are you playing like Half-Life Alyx? Any of the biggies over there, Sarah?
I haven't gotten into many of those yet.
Yeah.
Because I'm still just kind of like playing in the puddle of VR. But I was able to pick up a bunch of games from the Steam sale. So definitely get VR and then have the winter Steam sale hit.
Right.
I bought so many games. That's where I got Mask Maker, was also on sale. So I've just been kind of trying it out here and there every so often. But I will report back when I'm a little scared of like the more like intense games.
Yeah.
Like the more intense games, like Mask Maker in the beginning spooked me a little bit. I was like, ooh, this is a little spooky for me.
Everything's scary in VR. Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's all so much more like real than you can. And it sucks because you're like, I should be smarter than this, but your brain is like, no, scary.
Yes.
No, think real, very scary.
In Half-Life Alyx, it's like the Valve logo is terrifying. I'm like looking away.
Stop. Do you think you'd ever do a stream in VR, Sarah?
Yeah, if I can figure out how to set it up. That's another thing I'm scared about is because there's all this like extra stuff, but I would definitely do it.
Yeah.
Once I figure it out.
Leo, did you see that the PlayStation VR2 stuff was revealed? Anything catching your eye over there?
Really high resolution per eye.
Yeah, so they say
massive jump.
They say 4K, right? But is that what the resolution is per eye?
It might be 4K, 2K per eye or something. But either way, I think that's like way higher than I'm used to. I don't know about the index, but I think that's pretty good. Yeah.
So they just revealed a little bit at CES here, where Jim Ryan came on stage and they said, hey, it's officially called the PlayStation VR2. And there was much rejoicing. And the controllers are called PlayStation VR Sense controllers, not DualSense, Suriel. These are just Sense controllers. It's completely different.
They look suspiciously like other VR controllers we've seen before, like the Quest ones specifically.
No. These are Sense controllers. You must be mistaken. Yeah. There's eye tracking, which can anybody explain outside of playing before your eyes in VR how that would come into play? What is the point there?
I mean, simplest thing would be just in something like VR chat, the character's pupils matching where you're actually looking.
Oh.
Like immersion in multiplayer.
Okay, that's interesting. The other weird thing is there's going to be feedback in the headset. So the headset will like vibrate for all those times that you do like the Astrobot headbutt, like with a little soccer ball or something. I don't really know exactly when that'll come in.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if they're like, if you were playing Rec Room or something and every time a dodgeball hit you like the headset vibrated or something. I think
that sounds really fun.
It gave you a headache.
Yeah.
They also revealed a new experience called Horizon Call of the Mountain, which is set in the Horizon universe, and Guerrilla's co-developing it with Firesprite Games. And it's just like a little teaser right now, but it seems like you're in a boat and then they have like a big tall neck, like the big Brachiosaurus thing, kind of like walking over you. It's like, yeah. I'd like to see those things in VR. That sounds cool. So it doesn't seem
Wouldn't
like
you want
full
to
thing,
be one of those though? Imagine like if you could like see the world from the perspective of a tall neck in VR.
Well, maybe like, that is the mountain that you're being called to, as the name suggests, is you have to climb the neck of a tall neck and then become it at the top. Fuse your brain with it.
I'm sold. How much is this thing?
Probably a lot. They also didn't have a release date, so we'll wait and see exactly what's going on with PlayStation VR.
They didn't show the unit either, right? The actual headset?
I guess not. But they said it was single cable plug-in before, right? And so, yeah, I think there's still a lot of questions about this thing. But I was amazed, we did like a little Twitter poll, but like, hey, how excited are you for PlayStation VR 2? And maybe it was only the PlayStation VR super fans coming out of the woodwork, but like a lot of people were surprisingly excited to jump into VR with PlayStation VR 2. So, hey.
I have not been quiet about my dislike of that original PSVR headset, but like every change they're making here seems really good. I think one of the problems that it's had is it's kind of a few PlayStation exclusives versus parity with what else is happening in the VR space.
Totally.
And hopefully having a controller that's more similar to a Quest 1 will make it easier for developers to have a PlayStation version of what they're making, rather than putting the effort in to make a totally different control scheme for Move controllers, which half the people who use PSVR like don't even have and just use the controller instead.
Totally. And I would imagine that they have to be talking to Valve about porting Half-Life Alyx to this thing, right? Like that seems like just a layup announcement, but
yeah, that's the most frustrating thing is the exclusives, because it's like it's this entirely new hardware that you have to buy into, and like everything has exclusives, right? You can only play like even like among Resident Evil, right? Like Resident Evil 4 VR is Oculus Quest exclusive. Resident Evil 7 in VR is still PlayStation VR exclusive, and the Valve headsets have Half-Life Alyx basically, which you can figure out how to play that on an Oculus, but it's like frustrating that like for a technology that people have to be sold on it, there is also that question of like, well, which one do I get? Because at this point there are exclusive games, which is frustrating.
Yeah,
and even less so than a consoles. Like it makes sense to have multiple. Like why would you ever get multiple headsets just for exclusives? Like that's a ridiculous idea.
It's overly segmented for sure.
Yeah,
honestly, even though this is my job and all that stuff, I'm still very confused about compatibility between headsets and how the whole thing works. Like can Sarah, she can't play Oculus Quest games with an Index, but if you have a Quest, you can play Steam games.
I think so.
Right.
Because I played Half-Life Alyx on a Quest 1. But because it's a Quest 1, I can't play Resident Evil 4 VR because that's a Quest 2 exclusive. Yeah. There's like some weird workaround that you might be able to figure out. I wasn't able to do it, but like to play that. But it's like like I think some modder like looked at the game and figured out like this could run perfectly fine on a Quest 1. They're just arbitrarily making it exclusive to Quest 2 so that they can sell more of them. And like I really like Resident Evil, but I'm not going to buy a brand new headset just to play it.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of buying new hardware there, Suriel, did you want to talk about that Analogue Pocket? Because I really didn't have much interest in it. Then everybody kept just sharing photos. Like Jeff Wiggins, who did the design and logo and stuff for MinnMax, he just keeps posting on Instagram these images of just like, here's Pokemon Yellow in an Analogue Pocket. And somehow it's like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. So this it's a new piece of hardware from Analogue, and it runs Game Boy and Game Boy Advance stuff. Is that it, Suriel?
Yeah, but right now I think they have plans to have like these converter cartridges for other stuff.
Okay.
But I think right now it's like here's like a really high quality Game Boy that you can run.
But it's beautiful.
Which is what I've.
Do you still have the plastic on it?
I still have one of the plastic protectors because I don't like. I think there was some carrying case that you're supposed to be able to buy, and right now like I basically just still have the box, but I haven't played with it too much, and I also bought the dock.
Yeah, Suriel, people in the Backstage Pass watching us live, they're all chanting in unison, peel that off, peel that off. It'd be so satisfying.
Look at it.
All right.
Just, let us see.
I want to see if the picture quality actually changes when I do it.
Oh, yes.
Excellent. It got better.
Oh, it's Advance Wars. I couldn't read it before. That's incredible. It is
backwards, to be fair, yeah.
That's amazing. So it's just an Advance Wars machine, Suriel. Do you like it so far?
Yeah, I think it's really cool. It's probably a little too expensive.
How much is it?
Notice that it's like $200 for the base unit.
Okay.
And then I ended up like basically finding the most expensive way to play Mother 3 ever. So I also have this epilogue thing that is like basically just a thing that lets you play Game Boy cartridges on your computer, right?
Oh, right. Okay.
But this one isn't compatible with like third party or like basically unofficial cartridges. So I bought a cartridge that had Mother 3 on it, but it's like, here's the emulated fan translation that is in English. Mm-hmm. But this thing can't run it, but this thing can because it just emulates the GBA hardware. This, I think, uses an emulator. So I can play Mother 3 on this. But if I wanted to run it on my PC, if I wanted to like capture footage of it, there's a dock that you can buy that for this thing that is $100. So I could technically run Mother 3 on my computer by hooking this $200 thing up to a $100 other thing and then running it through the Elgato, and then now I can capture Mother 3, a game that I could just go download for free through an emulator and just capture for free.
I was gonna say, please don't pirate, guys.
Be cool.
But I have other I do want to play through Advance Wars again. I have like Minish Cap and stuff that I want to play through, and like this is I'm kind of excited to dig into a few of them, but for now I'm kind of just I haven't even peeled the plastic off yet, so I haven't had time. But I like the thing. It just seems like there is always this nagging thing of like that's too much money. Like it's too much money. I don't know, but whatever.
Hey, you only live once. Might as well have a $200 Game Boy in your pocket again.
That's right.
Hey, Sarah. Do you think we should jump in with the community's objective list first? Or is that the grand finale?
I kind of want to hear it after we reveal all of our lists.
Okay.
Because I haven't seen this list yet. Has anybody besides you seen this list?
Just Neil Smith, the mod. Even other mods are like, I want this to be a secret. So this is big reveal. Okay, so personal lists. I'll go first. I'll kick it off. My top 10 games of 2021 after much debate, much thought, loss of sleep, everything there. Number 10, What the Dub. is number 10. And look, this might be a confusing choice. I feel like I need to explain this one a little bit. This is the one that is very much like a Jackbox game, but it is not a Jackbox game, but it's on Steam, and it just has clips from old movies, and then it goes silent, and you type in joke answers, and everybody makes each other laugh by doing text-to-speech. But if you like Mystery Science Theater and you like Jackbox, please don't miss What the Dub, because we played it first during Extra Life, and maybe we were just loopy late at night, but it was like, this might be all I want to do for the rest of my life is just play What the Dub and make fart sounds in these old black and white movies. It was really beautiful. And then even playing it after that, I really adore What the Dub. And it's like, you know, it's always the debate with these lists of like, well, you can't give it to a Jackbox game or What the Dub. But it's like, man, the amount of enjoyment I got out of What the Dub this year, like, it deserves a spot on this list.
This is your list.
Thank you.
Put whatever you want on your list, then.
Well, I'm glad you have the mentality, Sarah, because number 9 is The Forgotten City, everybody. Then number 8 is Psychonauts 2. Number 7, Chicory, A Colorful Tale. Number 6 is Forza Horizon 5. Number 5 is Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 4 is Age of Empires 4. Number 3 is It Takes Two. Number 2 is Before Your Eyes. Number 1 is Valheim for me. Sarah, give us that list.
I love that for you.
Thank you so much. That for you. Thank you so much.
My number 10 is Inscription. My number 9 is Mask Maker, but it would probably move up if I played more of it. But it got there, like last minute.
Okay, stop. I know Leo explained it before. What is it again? How does it work? What are you doing?
Essentially, you are in VR and you stumble across this workshop that makes these masks. And when you make a mask, it teleports you to like the mask maker's realm. And to traverse it, you have to make the masks of other sort of like denizens of the world. And they all have slightly different masks, right? So you kind of like body snatch people with masks, but they weren't doing anything anyways.
Okay.
So it's like, okay. And to make your mask, it's so cute. You have to go and like gather things. So I had to go and like gather seashells on the shore to put on my mask so I could teleport to a different location.
Huh.
And the story, like it's very atmospheric. It's giving me like Disney ride vibes. You know, when you're like in one of those really immersive Disney rides, and even the line's kind of immersive. It's very much that.
Huh.
Yeah.
But if you haven't played VR, that's like the closest you're gonna get to the experience.
It's also just one of those VR things where you recognize how fun it is to have that kind of movement. Like at a certain point when I was switching between different denizens with different masks, I would like look at the one I was about to switch to and wave and then take the mask off, and then I'd switch to it and I'd see that person frozen waving up at me, like just doing weird poses like that. I don't know. I feel like the perception of VR is like they have Half-Life Alyx as a killer app and that's about it. And then a bunch of other small stupid things. But there's lots of like mid-range B or A tier games. And I think Mask Maker is my favorite one I played this year.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that it snuck in there. Okay, Sarah, what else we got?
Oh, for 8, we got Resident Evil Village. For 7, we have the Animal Crossing Happy Home Paradise DLC.
Oh.
6, we have Toem. 5 is Valheim. 4 is Unpacking. 3 is Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. 2 is Chicory. And 1 is Outer Wilds Echo of the Eye.
Perfect. Hey, Sarah, I love that for you. I think that's the perfect list.
I think our list really reflect who we are as individuals.
Right. I would hope so. It is, you know, I don't know what to make of it these days, but like I sent my list a while ago to Tim Turry because we were talking about games of the year and stuff. And he's like, well, that's a successful Hanson list. I was like, I don't know what that means exactly, but I guess it's a good thing that I'm true to myself. Leo, top 10, man. Give us those Leo lists.
Top 10. No big surprises here. Number 10, Pikmin Bloom. Number 9.
Wait. That is a surprise.
I mean, no surprise if you're fresh off listening to those two debates, because I think all these games came up. But yeah, Pikmin Bloom rocks.
Wow. Okay. Love it.
All the time.
Love it. Okay.
Number 9, Pistol Whip expansion, the Smoke and Thunder expansion. I only didn't say Pistol Whip for the Quest 2 recommendations because I'm a broken record about that. Everybody knows how good that game is.
Got it.
Number 8, The Forgotten City. Number 7, It Takes Two. Number 6 was Mask Maker. Number 5, Resident Evil Village. Number 4, Deathloop. Number 3, Chivalry 2. Number 2, Hitman 3. Number 1, Riders Republic.
Love it. Chivalry 2, that's high, man. I'm surprised.
I played a lot of it.
Is that a situation where you think that, how reliant is that game on having a group of friends that's really into chivalry?
I mean, that helps, but I played most of it by myself.
Really?
Like, But although I will say I was streaming to friends in Discord a lot, and that made it so much more fun because it is such a goofy visual slapstick game that when a funny moment happened, like being able to share that with people. In a way, it was better to be streaming it to people than to be playing it with them because then we could all see the funny thing at the same time.
Right. All right, Suriel, man, this is your chance. The big S himself coming in here. What do you got for the top 10?
Okay, so it has changed slightly since I gave you that list on MinnMax, but it actually just made it more boring because I had a moment where it's like, if I'm being honest, this is probably my list. Number 10, Psychonauts 2. Number 9, Destiny 2. Since they just added the 30th anniversary content, that stuff I think is super cool. It's like one of the best things they've done in a long time.
You sold me on the deepest dive in Halo Infinite. We talked about it a little bit, but you said they added the Halo 1 pistol into Destiny 2.
Yeah, so that is an exotic that is just like, here is a pistol that uses special ammo, which is usually the ammo reserved for shotguns, sniper rifles, and like more powerful weapons. And so it's like a really cool gun, feels really good to use, really strong in like multiplayer and stuff. And so I've been enjoying the crap out of that. They added the battle rifle, one of the lasers from Halo Reach. They added the sword from Myth. Like a bunch of like retro content, including like they added back Gallarhorn, which is like the exotic that everybody loved in Destiny 1.
Yeah.
And so like, but there's like other additions. So like they added a dungeon that is based on the loot cave from Destiny 1.
Really? That's amazing.
And the idea is that like you discovered it's like in the loot cave, like where was all that random loot that was dropping? Because if you don't know, the loot cave was this thing where like early on in kind of like the grindiest parts of, you know, post game Destiny, people have discovered that, oh, there's this cave where just like enemies just come out of it constantly. And the way Destiny's drop system worked is you gain drops by killing a certain number of enemies. So if you just farm this thing, you just get random drops all the time. But like this dungeon like posits that there was like, where are those enemies coming from? And it's like, here's like, you dive into the loot cave and you find like this entire new area full of like, it is a very booby trap heavy dungeon where it's like, oh, there's 3 doors and like 2 of them will kill you, or like, and then you go into the one and immediately there's another booby trap right in the third one, basically, that you have to figure out how to get across.
That's amazing.
And like you're picking up these audio diaries that is like, oh, my team and I descended into this thing and there's loot everywhere. We're gonna get out and be rich. And it's like, as you get more of those, it's like, you know, it's like a Donner Party situation where it's like, I can't find my way out. It's like day 55, like 3 of my members are dead, but I have all this loot. I am getting out with all of this loot. And it's like, at the end of it, I don't want to ruin it, but it's like, basically, it's like this group of people is driven insane by how much loot there is in the loot cave. And there's a really cool, like, boss mechanic and stuff. And they also added the Dares of Eternity game show mode, which is Xur is back, and he has a star horse with him. And I know you guys have gotten really into horses recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, since you've been gone, it's basically nothing but horse content over here at MinnMax. I'm sorry.
So this is like a celestial horse, and it's like he's got amazing lines, even though all he does, he's a horse. He doesn't talk to you directly, but like whenever you clear like part of it, because it's like a game show where it's like, you know, Xur will announce like, oh, it's the Fallen and you have to fight them, and it's like there's a spin the wheel for, you know, which enemies you're going to fight, and every time you do well, it's like you'll hear the horse make a sound, but the subtitles will say things like infinite neigh or like entropic whinny or like imperial, like these like cosmic sounds combined with horse sounds. And Xur is basically being forced by this star horse to run the game show. And he'll say things like, the horse wishes you to fight more opponents. That is the horse's will. And like, I do not control the horse. So he's basically like, I don't know what this horse is doing, but he's he's forcing me to have you play this game. I don't know, like that is his problem. He's recruiting you for this. I'm just the messenger, man.
Do you think, has Destiny gotten significantly sillier since launch? Obviously all living games tend to do it, but I didn't know that it had gotten to horse game show levels of absurdity.
I feel like this is kind of them just because this is like their end of the year stuff. Like they've kind of finished off their season. And so like this definitely feels like they're kind of taking a little break, because I think the story stuff in Destiny throughout the years actually been pretty strong. Like their seasonal story has gotten a lot better. And like they're just about to release Witch Queen, their next big expansion. So this is kind of like, here's a fun mode where we're just kind of messing around. So it's not in line with what they've been doing recently, but it is really cool to have this mode that I've just been spending way too much time with. So yeah, I've really been enjoying it. just for like all the retro content and like, yeah, all this stuff I think has made Destiny 2 like a game that I'm still playing for a while. So
which is why it's number 1.
It's number 8.
Okay, number 8. Got it.
Right? I think, yeah, Psychonauts 2 is 10. Destiny 2 is 9.
Okay.
Number 8 is Everhood. Number 7.
Whoa. What's Everhood? Is that old claymation game?
No, it's like I talked about this, I think, a while ago. I'm surprised you don't remember the beginning of the year.
Crap.
But like,
I'm sorry.
It's like a sort of Undertale-esque RPG, but you don't really like. It is RPG only in that you're kind of walking around talking to people. Like the combat is actually like this really cool mix of platformer and rhythm game, where you have like a Guitar Hero-esque highway, and like the enemies are basically sending notes down, but instead of like playing them, you basically just have to jump over them. Like you're moving around the lanes to avoid the notes,
right?
And you can like you have a jump, you have like you have an HP meter that kind of constantly refills, so it's like you have the ability to take a break, and it has this really kind of like trippy rabbit hole story of like, oh, what is this game going to do next that builds on that stuff. Like there's a lot of really like cool one-off segments. Like there's a part where you're just playing like a very retro racing game. Like there's a lot of like one-off bits like that. There's a lot of hidden like weird things. Like there's one point, the only thing that'll spoil is like you don't have to. You can optionally choose to walk down a hallway for multiple hours to see like a bit of content, and it is just like a hallway. And it is like, well, you don't have to do this. It doesn't lead to a very cool reward, but it's like here's this hallway that you can just walk through for 1 or 2 hours to see this thing.
Hey, Leo, what is this? Final Fantasy 13?
Good joke, Ben.
Do you mean 14 or I don't get it?
No, it's not important. Cool. Good choice. All right. What else we got on that list?
Number 7 is Before Your Eyes. Number 6 is Metroid Dread. Number 5 is The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles.
Ooh.
Number 4 is Resident Evil Village. Number 3 is Deathloop. Number 2 is Guilty Gear Strive. And number 1 is Sable.
Sable, number 1. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the heck out of this game. This is like the one game that I just completely fell in love with this year.
Yeah, what about it?
I think like my love of Sable is kind of twofold. There's like the academic, like, oh, someone figured out how to make an open world game that is really fun to explore that doesn't have combat in it. Because there's just like, there's no fighting. You're just completing quests for people and you're just seeing this world. Like, because I think open world games really take advantage of the hardware, right? Like it is like a really cool way to get you to explore this giant world that the developers made and just like take in vistas and just go around and do stuff. And a lot of the way that's structured is always just like, here, complete this list of objectives, kill a bunch of stuff, and then move on to the next thing in a way that is always like, I'm trying to get through this area or conquer it and then move on to the next one. Whereas I think Sable, by not having combat and making most of it about exploring, really gets you to take in all of its visuals, which, by the way, this game looks amazing if you haven't seen it yet. There's like a specific like French artist whose name I forget that they're really inspired by, and they nail the look of that and they build on it really well. Where it's like very like flat kind of shaded colors and stuff, but when you go inside, they have like a dynamic lighting system where when you go inside, it like all the colors shift to get darker and more blue. So it's like if you're in like a dark area, like the colors appropriately shift. And I really like I like the story. I like that there is this kind of, you know, like a lot of people. It reminded me of Encanto, the new Disney movie.
I just watched it last night.
Where it's like, one of the criticisms of that movie that some people had was like, oh, there's no like driving conflict. There's no like bad guy and there's no like, you know, save the world type of thing. It is just like this family dealing with their problems. And like, I think I really enjoyed it. Like, I don't think I had a problem with that. And this feels like a similar thing of like, there's no like, oh, Sable needs to save the world from this oncoming terror. Like the story in Sable is you're trying to figure out what your career is basically. So the goal of the game is to get 3 masks at least, and then have a ceremony where you choose like, oh, I'm going to be like someone who builds robots, or I'm going to be like a machinist, or I'm going to sell scrap, or I'm going to like, you know, like join this tribe that I did a couple quests for. And you can find as many masks as you want, right? And that kind of comes in with like, as you explore more of the world, you have more options. And there are just like really cool like locations in this game that, you know, you stumble upon without being told where to go. Like there's this thing where if you climb like this Grand Canyon kind of like sea of plateaus and rocks, you find like this settlement that people built on top of this canyon that is connected by like the bones of these giant like animals. So like the bridges between all these different cliffs are like spines, basically.
That's cool.
And it's like this really cool view. And then you find this one guy who's like, yeah, most of us have left already. There's this other guy. Make sure if you find him, like tell him hi. And you can find you can explore this like really interconnected series of tunnels, and you find the other guy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I've just kind of been chilling the last couple of days anyway." Like you're finding like these settlements that are kind of just happening, like, and you just like stumble upon this. There's like a giant worm that you can explore the insides of. There's like these like crashed ships that you're finding, and that's kind of like the main story is like finding these crashed ships and figuring out like, oh, what led to these ships crashing here, and you know how like what are the origins of all this stuff. But it was just like this really chill game that felt like, okay, this feels like the most refined like version of the open world formula, that it cuts away all of the chaff and just says like, just take in these views, explore this world, and have a good time. Which like I just like fell in love with for 15 hours or so. I did basically everything in that game. I will say though, it is pretty rough. Like tech-wise, the frame rate is pretty rough. There's even there's one puzzle where you're trying to put batteries in these catapults, basically, that are like these giant pillars that kind of just like launch you. They're supposed to launch you everywhere, like throughout the level. And half the time, like most of the time, even they just clipped through all the batteries and me. No. So I had a really frustrating time. Like, okay, if I move it to this specific square on this catapult, that'll launch it a little bit. But if I move it back a little bit, it'll launch it all the way. So it's like it's rough around the edges in a lot of ways. But I just completely fell in love with this game, and it was like I really enjoyed Sable. If you like open world games, it's pretty short overall. Like it's like 13, 15 hours, and that's because I did everything in the game. I found all the outfits, found all the masks and stuff. But yeah, really cool, chill vibes. It's just a game that makes you elongate those vowel sounds where you're like, man, look at that sun. Like, look, you're just like, you feel like you're getting high playing that game, but it's also like really endearing and fun. So
there we go. Sable, everybody. Great list, Suriel, you did it. Yeah. You said you had some honorable mentions you wanted to squeeze in there? Yeah.
Forgotten City and Forgotten City was on this list before. Monster Hunter Rise was kind of Monster Hunter Rise, Returnal, and Inscription were kind of like the three that were on the edge for a little bit there, which is because I only got around, like Monster Hunter Rise was kind of peripherally like on the list most of the year, and Inscription and Returnal I only got to recently. Boomerang X is another game that I want to give a shout out to.
Oh yeah,
I thought was really cool. A lot of it is like that game is super stressful. It is like Doom Eternal levels of like, you're moving around this battlefield constantly, and like you have no, like the last few levels of that game are just like if you land, you die. Like you have to be in the air constantly because you have this like X-shaped boomerang that you can throw and then it comes back to you, but you can also throw yourself to it. So you're constantly moving around the map, and you get all these like other abilities that build on top of each other, and they were really cool. I got to the end of that game, saw the last boss, and said, "Oh yeah, I'm not gonna be able to do this," because it's like, I don't want to spoil it, but it's like I got through all the levels and they're like really tough. They're kind of like Super Meat Boy-esque, like you die and you start over immediately. But it was a really cool, really inventive game. And then Pokemon Unite was the kind of last honorable mention, which I spent way more time with than I expected to, but I had a really good time with that game, and I'm still kind of like, there's still part of me that is like, I played a couple matches on my phone over the break while I was visiting my parents, of just like, oh cool, I have this game on my phone, then I'll just like, I'm waiting for like, everyone's just kind of making dinner, I'm done with kind of my end of things, I'll play a couple matches of Pokemon Unite, sure.
Since you're a big Dota lad, do you think Pokemon Unite is like locked in at this point as a number 3 in that genre?
I wouldn't say it's, well, I don't know who the number. I feel like Heroes of the Storm is still kind of there. It's kind of fallen off, but it's still getting support. Like the thing that everyone forgets about Heroes of the Storm is that it's still a live game. It's not quite dead yet. They're still getting new characters and updates and stuff.
Wait, really?
They just don't have an esports scene.
Oh, is that because I remember there was an announcement a while ago where the headline was definitely like they threw it out back and destroyed it. Yeah, so it's kind of like on afterburner. It's like the last character was, I think, about a year ago, but they're still like, hey, like in December they released a balance update of like, here are our patch notes, we're upping it. So it is on a back burner game, but I went back to it recently, and it's like, Matt, you're still finding matches pretty quickly. Like that game is not dead.
But I think Pokemon Unite is probably like the biggest up and comer in like the MOBA genre right now because of the Pokemon name. And they've been really good about support. They've added a bunch of Pokemon. They've added, they're doing like the regular kind of seasonal events. But yeah, it's almost like not even really a MOBA in a lot of ways. It just uses kind of like the gameplay of one where you have 2 abilities, you have an ultimate. Because the goal is completely different. It's not about destroying towers and you're not farming gold. It's just like you just go around, kill things, level up, and kind of dunk. Like you're basically playing. It's like a combination of a MOBA and basketball, basically.
Hell yeah.
Which like is a really cool change of pace. It kind of lets me play that and Dota at the same time without feeling like the two kind of conflict with each other.
Yeah. I thought the whole point of this podcast was to be like, this is 2021. We're closing the books forever. Everything I didn't get to, guilt resolved. But there is still a part of me that's like, I kind of want to go back and play Pokemon Unite with friends. I think it'd be fun.
I think that game is pretty cool. And it's like they have like the matches, you can make them like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Basically.
Right.
Like, the longest those games go are like 10 minutes because they're timed. They're like you have 10 minutes to score as many points as you can.
That's right. Yeah, my biggest honorable mention, the one that I was really debating squeezing on there was Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Which is like, God, I had such a good time going through that game. Is there any way I could squeeze it on this list? But I had to give it up to What the Dub instead. I just had to. There was no choice.
You got the dub.
Was it tough to make the list for you this year, Sarah?
It wasn't too bad. I made like a bunch of other lists that were actually like easier to make.
Like what?
But it wasn't too bad. I have like, let's see. I have like the honorable mention list. I have games I forgot existed but were good.
Right.
I have a what the was that list.
Mm-hmm.
Games that I did not play but will. And then I have games that I did not play and won't.
Is this just for Twitter? What'd you make these for?
No, I just it was easier to take games out than it was to put on the list. So I could be like, okay, what survived the purge? And then I'm like, these are all top 10s.
So it was like easier to cut certain games if you were cutting them, you were putting them on a different list. Right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you want to run down any of them? Like honorable mentions?
Well, my honorable mentions, let's see. I also had Pokemon Unite on my honorable mentions.
There we go.
But I had Hitman 3 and then Wildermyth were all both honorable mentions.
Love it. Any other of those lists that you want to run down?
I think my favorite is the games that I did not play and won't.
Yep.
Because it's like everybody else's top games. I was like, you know what? This looks like somebody's game of the year list when I made it. So I can read that to you. The games that I did not play and won't.
Will not. No matter what, you will not play these.
And won't.
Okay.
Metroid Dread was the first one. Returnal, Ratchet and Clank, the Kena. Also, Guardians of the Galaxy, Far Cry 6, Pokemon Diamond Pearl remakes, Skyward Sword HD, Knockout, and Brain Age all got on those lists.
Brain Age, squeaking onto that list.
I was like, that's not, because people were like, are you going to play it? And I was like, absolutely not. It's on this list.
I wish it was you. I wish I had people that they're bugging me about like, hey, are you going to play Brain Age? That feels like the best game to be
and
like,
you're like, absolutely not. See, it's on this list called Games I Did Not Play and Won't.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's gone forever.
I did neglect to mention Skyward Sword is on my honorable mentions list.
There we go.
I really enjoyed it. But there was a point where I had it like pretty high up on my actual personal list, but I kind of like the personal list can be whatever you want, but I tend to like have a rule for myself of like, unless I have not played it before, I tend to give them way less favor unless they make really significant changes.
Right.
And the big change that Skyward Sword made was like, the controls are now, you can use a controller now instead of having to use the Wii remote, which is cool. I still think that game is underrated among Zeldas. Really liked it a lot, but like it's just like I would rather give 2021 games, the spotlight on my list personally.
Yeah. All right. Should we get to the definitive objective list?
Yeah, I think it's just that list Sarah read off.
Yeah, I think it's the list that I just read off.
It was uncanny. It was shot for shot the exact same games. So this is pulled from the MinnMax Discord, which you get access to if you support us at the $2 tier on Patreon. And it is a weighted list. So if people had this as their number one choice, it was weighted more. And then number two, I think, was half or whatever. Neil, I'm sorry, I'm blowing it, the mod. But he did a good job sorting through all the stuff. Thank you to the mods for arranging this stuff. So here's the list. And let's go for top 20. Why not? Does anybody have a guess, by the way?
They get a 20?
They kept it rolling.
Wow. I mean, they made their own 210s, right?
No, this is a top 20, Suriel.
Oh, okay, totally.
Suriel, what do you think is going to be number one for this list?
Ratchet and Clank.
Ooh, interesting. Leo, what do you think?
I don't know. Halo Infinite.
Wow. Sarah, what do you think?
I'm leaning Ratchet and Clank or Metroid Dread.
Interesting. All right, the community's list for the top 20 games of the year. Number 20, The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles.
Oh,
Just squeaking on there. That's cool. Number 19, Tales of Arise. Congratulations, Tales. Number 18, get ready, Sarah. Outer Wilds, Echoes of the Eye, making it on there.
It made it on the list?
Mm-hmm.
I'm shocked.
Number 17 is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Number 16, Chicory, A Colorful Tale. I'm sorry, that should be number 1 community. I'm sorry, the subjective list is wrong. Number 15 is Death's Door. Number 14, above Outer Wilds, interesting, is The Forgotten City. I guess that's just math, that it's a better game than Outer Wilds. Interesting. Number 13 is Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Number 12 is Before Your Eyes. Number 11 is Hitman 3. Number 10 is Forza Horizon 5. Number 9 is Deathloop. Number 8, Inscription. Number 7, Resident Evil Village. Number 6, Returnal. Number 5, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 4, this is higher than I thought, Psychonauts 2. Is that what you were crossing your fingers for, Sarah?
No, I'm waiting for the Metroid.
Number 3, It Takes Two. Number 3. Number 2, Halo Infinite. Number 1, Metroid Dread.
I got you, MinnMax community. I know who you are.
We see right through you. Metroid Dread, the number 1 game according to the MinnMax community. Thank you for making that list, everybody. That's fun to run through that stuff. Hey, Suriel.
Yeah.
What else have you been doing?
Not much. Played through Inscription and Returnal recently.
Okay.
I've been working on stuff I can't talk about, so it's like
what can you say about the whole field that you're into now, the whole consulting world? Is it about what you expected since going full time with this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had been doing it at like a lower frequency for a little while, so it's been kind of just been rolling into a more intense version of that, where, you know, sometimes you'll have, I had weeks where I just didn't really have anything on my plate, and weeks where I had like 3 projects on my plate and was basically working pretty constantly. But it's been cool. Like I've had like more, like enough work that I'm doing well. But it's been interesting to kind of see this side of like having the tool feedback like directly to developers, like talking to them directly about like, here's what you need to do, and seeing games at like early and earlier stages of development. Yeah. There are like some projects where they just like, here's our kind of, you know, pitch for the game. What do you think? You know, there are certain
awesome.
And so like there are project that I'm seeing at like different stages of development, which is really cool. But yeah, it's been interesting to work with like developers directly on that kind of stuff. But the writing part like is sometimes not that different, because sometimes they just literally want you to do a mock review, which is just like, here's what I would review. And they'll make caveats about like, yeah, we know about these like 80 bugs or whatever that you'll encounter because it's like still an in progress build, and obviously a lot of the art isn't final, so like, you know, take those into account when reviewing the game. But sometimes you'll just get like a game that's basically done and said like, okay, what can we expect when it comes to critics and fans and stuff. So that's been really cool. Like it's really interesting to have to, you know, think about like your audience being developers versus being it like, should you buy this game or play it? Like, that depends on so much, but like developers have like specific questions that they want about like, we're specifically concerned about this and this, and like maybe and we'll hop on a call and like we'll talk about those concerns directly.
Do you ever write in the reviews for developers who are fans of the genre? I think they'll find a lot to like here.
No, I mean, I generally don't write like that. I generally try to avoid that phrase specifically in my reviews, because it's like a dead phrase to me at this point. But yeah, it's been a lot of like trying to figure out like, okay, I'm writing this for specific, like I'm writing a mock review that is meant to be for an audience, but like I want to incorporate feedback that is not going to be relevant to them. So it's like figuring out like how much of this is like my personal experience and how much is stuff that is going to help them. So yeah, and like Yeah, and every once in a while you'll have a developer reach out to you. He's like, I'm really glad you mentioned this in your review because like I had that same exact concern. So
I was arguing this internally and no one would listen to everything.
The best you can hope for, it's like, I don't think I've ever been like, like we've added a feature or completely retooled the game based on a thing you said, right? It's like the best you can hope for is like you were kind of ammo in someone else's argument of like, see, they also said this. And so like that stuff has been interesting to see for sure. Yeah, without getting you in trouble. Leo, I'm not trying to get him in trouble, I swear. But have you had a moment about something that's not announced yet where you said like, holy shit? Is it to that level? Like announcements coming up that made you go like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, there are a couple of things that I know that I'm very curious to see what the reaction is when it comes to certain projects. So, all right.
I've only done a couple mock reviews, but a great thrill for me is one of them. They said, well, this game hasn't been announced yet. It'll be announcing this upcoming month probably. And I ended up giving it a poor review. Yeah. And now that time has come and passed and they didn't announce it. So I get to kind of think, oh, did I do that? Did I ruin their confidence?
I saved the world from a potentially bad game or whatever.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Interesting.
Or maybe they just pushed it back. Yeah.
Suriel, thank you for being here, dude. You're welcome back whenever you want. If people are listening to you and they say, my God, I miss his dulcet tones, they can always check out Halo Infinite's Deepest Dive. It's the best, most thorough discussion about that game's campaign on the internet, thanks to Wade, and especially thanks to Suriel for backing Wade up in a big bad way.
That's right. I did not get it into as much of the lore as Wade did, but yeah, it was a really fun discussion. Like both of those episodes, I think are good, and like they talk about the story of Halo, which I think a lot of people. I mean, like the discussion is definitely weighted towards the story more so than the gameplay, especially in that second half. So I kind of like that idea of like, yeah, this thing that a lot of people completely kind of ignored or like didn't take super seriously. Right. Let's really dig into that. I like doing that kind of stuff.
I do too. Well, hey, Suriel, welcome back whenever you want. For now, do you want to clap out, dude?
Absolutely.
Bye. Janet Garcia, welcome.
A good clap.
That was a mean clap. It was fierce. It was like a sharp.
Now I'm scared that the noise reduction just isn't on.
That could be.
Let's find out together, shall we?
Hey, welcome to the podcast, Janet. Thank you for being here. We just ran down our top 10 games of 2021, and I can feel everybody listening and watching screaming, "What are Janet's?" All right, so
I felt that too.
It's weird. It's a third sense.
Right?
Third sense.
Like then you feel cold for a second. Yeah. Top 10 games of the year would go from 10 to 1.
Love it.
10 is Hitman 3. 9 is Resident Evil Village. 8, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. 7, Death's Door. 6, Bravely Default 2. 5, Metroid Dread. 4, Before Your Eyes. 3, Chicory. 2, Life is Strange. True Colors. And 1 is Deathloop.
Flying. Yay. Love it.
There we go.
You feeling good about that? Were you stressed trying to lock that down?
No, not stressed in any capacity. I've been working on this the entirety of the year. Every 4 months I wrote it. So by the time the last 2 edits were actually identical. Like I didn't add or drop anything. So yeah, boring answer. But I'm like, I've literally been thinking about this the entire year. It's one of the few things I really did. It was ready to go.
I like that idea of every time you play a game, I keep track of every game I played, but it would be interesting instead of doing it chronologically to track it where it's you enter the new game either above or below how much you enjoyed the previous game on the list. And so you're just constantly building out that list as it goes. It'd be kind of fun.
Like when Outriders was on the list, that was early in the year, right? It's
it's a weird time for everybody.
These are 10 games that came out this year.
At some point, it was the best. Hey, Leo, do you know how this whole thing operates?
Yeah.
That's right, everybody. Patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. Thank you so much for jumping over there and helping to support independent games media. And thank you to some of our big supporters over there on Patreon, including new folks, Fantasy Flight Games. They want everybody to know about the Lord of the Rings card game. It has a revised core set. It is a cooperative card game for 1 to 4 players. Leo, do you see this? Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Yeah.
It's if you want to go through the mines of Moria, you want to have some wonderful adventures before, getting you kind of warmed up before the Amazon series for Lord of the Rings comes out a little bit later this year. Lord of the Rings card game set. I just got this in the mail today from them, but I'm looking forward to checking it out because, we just went through all those commentary tracks for Lord of the Rings, Leo, and you kind of want to experience more of that world. Here you go. This cooperative game for Fantasy Flight Games. Live it, everybody. There's new cards. It contains everything you need to start your adventure. Also, thank you to our friends, of course, over at Diverge Coffee. They say, hey all, Brian and Nick here from Diverge Coffee, wanting to wish you a happy new year. Thank you all for the awesome, thank you to all the awesome MinnMaxers that supported us in 2021. We just ask, hang on. We just want to ask you to please consider checking out what we have to offer at divergecoffee.com. And if you do, you can use the code MinnMax for 15% off of your coffee order. We look forward to an amazing year moving forward and hope you think of us when you want coffee. Start your adventure at divergecoffee.com. That's DIVERGE, divergecoffee.com, promo code MinnMax, everybody, check it out. Also, thank you to our friends over at Fixture Gaming. They want everybody to know about the Fixture S1, which is a clip you put on your Nintendo Switch Pro controller, then you can slide the screen on top of that so you can play with the best controller on the go. You can check out the link below to get it on Amazon. There's also an option for a carrying case bundle. It is $35. Play with the Switch Pro controller on the go. Just look at a picture of this thing. You'll understand why it can be very handy for you. So check that out and help support Fixture Gaming. Also, thank you to I Am 8-Bit. They want everybody to know about Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion, the vinyl soundtrack. The soundtrack is by James Courier and Ryan over there. And they want everybody to know that you can go to their store, I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store, get this vinyl soundtrack for Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion, and you can get anything else in the store for 10% off, as long as it's under $100, by using a promo code. And of course, the promo code is New Year, New Code. No space. New Year, New Code, everybody. Check that out for 10% off. And because they're so generous, each and every week they ship out a prize to the MinnMax community. So whoever has the best question this week will win Carto on PS4, the puzzle game. This is the I Am 8-Bit edition of Carto, and it comes with like a cool map and a bunch of funky stuff in there. So, all right, everybody remember who has the absolute best question of the week. Janet, your mind's like a steel trap, right?
I hope not.
I think it's a good thing.
Try.
Everybody wants a steel trap for mine, I think. Okay, here we go. Pelican Man. Hey, Pelican Man says, after listening to a metric ton of Game of the Year content, I've been thinking about former Game of the Year winners. While most games that garner that kind of critical praise are still held in high regard, which then common choice for Game of the Year do you think has suffered the biggest drop in perception since its release year, either in your own view or the general consensus? So let's go to this site that Suriel mentioned earlier in the show, which is GameAwards.net. Leo, does one jump out to you? This is like a collection of the industry awards, pulling it together to figure out what is the collective Game of the Year going back for decades.
My gut on this question, as it is whenever this topic comes up, is 2014,
Correct.
Notoriously tough year to pick. Right. It was kind of between Dragon Age Inquisition and Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah.
And I remember getting Dragon Age Inquisition because it won Game Informer's Game of the Year and being so disappointed with it. It running so badly and the gameplay being so boring to me. And but I thought it was like, I didn't know the revelation looking at GameAwards.net right now, though, is that in my mind, it was split between those two. But here, Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor had 52 Game of the Year awards to Dragon Age Inquisition's 139.
Oh my God.
Nearly triple for Dragon Age.
Look, man, it was a tough year. You don't know what it was like back then, Leo. It was a nightmare trying to find a game to play. It was just, everything was so blah. I think my Game of the Year that year was Stick of Truth, which I really enjoyed, the South Park RPG. But yeah, in the Game Informer debate, that was a very intense one. But I love that you were on the receiving end of that, of like, we debated it and then Dragon Age Inquisition won and then you spent $60 on it and hated it.
I feel like looking at that year, because I'm like, what did come out that year? And clicking onto the page, Mario Kart 8 is probably better than either of those games.
I think you're probably right.
I feel like no one wants to give like a kart racer like that its flowers, but Mario Kart 8 is the best Mario Kart by like a lot.
Yeah, I think you're right.
We're still playing it.
Especially, exactly. Especially in the lens of how we're looking back on it now. Mario Kart 8 is the most beloved out of these top three, no question.
Oh, absolutely. So running through Game Awards here, going back to 2003. Let me know, make some sound or something. Make some sound when there's one that really rubs you the wrong way. 2003 was Knights of the Old Republic. 2004, Half-Life 2. 2005, Resident Evil 4. You can't question these so far. 2006, Oblivion. 2007, BioShock. Okay. There are galaxies out there. 2008, Fallout 3. I'll just pause on this, wait for somebody.
Yeah,
okay.
I guess that is maybe one that people have turned on. Like, that was really great at the time, and I had nothing but love for it then, but I feel like if we're talking about perception, it's shifted a little bit on the Bethesda Fallouts.
Do you think that just overall our perception of Bethesda has shifted to an extent after Fallout 76 and even Fallout 4 for some people?
Maybe, but there also is specific, like, stuff that makes Fallout 3 hard to go back to as far as gunplay.
Yeah.
Things of that nature.
2009.
So is it stuff that doesn't age well or stuff that shouldn't have won even at the time?
I think
that our perception has changed on is the question, right?
Yeah, okay. I think less like aging well. I think more it's just the idea of like, oh, that's surprising. It doesn't feel like that deserved
like
it
maybe
back
we
then.
made a mistake. Like if we had a time travel machine and didn't want to do something way more important, we'd be like, you sure?
Name one thing more important. We have,
you got me there.
2009, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. 2010, Red Dead Redemption 1. 2011, which is weird that they called it that back then. 2011, Skyrim. 2012 is the first one I think that gives me pause here, which is The Walking Dead for 2012.
I was kind of eyeing that one too. I actually didn't play The Walking Dead, but...
Ooh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but like, maybe, I mean... I'm looking at the other list, the rest of the games on the list, and like it's 58 at Journey, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. You can like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what else would have been. Maybe Mass Effect 3. I feel like people vibe with Mass Effect.
Yeah,
but I haven't actually like spent a lot of time with these. Dishonored's also pretty damn fun.
I do think, yeah, looking at 2012, yeah, you're right. So it's Walking Dead got 74 awards, Journey 58, Far Cry 3 53. I think I would go XCOM Enemy Unknown in a big way compared to everything else there.
I would too. It's interesting to see Halo 4 with the same amount, 21 Game of the Year awards for, again, perception changing.
Yes.
People talk about Halo 4 as like, that's when we knew the series was in trouble. But it's interesting looking at this breakdown of media outlets Game of the Year awards, 14 versus Reader's Choice 7 for Halo 4, and then XCOM Enemy Unknown is all 21 were media outlets, 0 Reader's Choice Game of the Years for XCOM Enemy Unknown.
That's so bizarre. Yeah, it just didn't get the sales, I guess. Is that all that really indicates?
I guess, yeah.
Or it's a more refined taste that the media had to inform the masses about. Is that what you're saying, Leo?
There certainly seem to be games that only critics really care about.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Which doesn't necessarily mean anything about their quality.
Well, like critics and like the friends of critics, like because a lot of times I think our audiences will love what we love, which is like, see, it's like, yeah, but these are like hardcore gamers consuming like media content all the time, so it's kind of just a different vibe.
Yeah. But yeah, Walking Dead, I really enjoyed Walking Dead. The story works. Maybe I'm just thinking about the idea of going back to it and how stiff some of those animations are and stuff. But I remember hearing this interview one time with Sean Vanneman, who was the creative director for Walking Dead back at Telltale. And I remember somebody asked him, like, if you had an infinite budget, what would you want to do with it? What game would you make? And I still lose sleep over his answer where he said, I would want to make just like a AAA version of The Walking Dead Season 1. Like the game that we already made, but I want to make it look like The Last of Us. I was like, that's such a weird idea. I feel like those animations might have been simplistic compared to other things in the industry, but like it still worked. What more do you want? The audience was crying and it got Game of the Year. That's it.
I remember specifically that being an especially poor running game for me. Like it stuttered on every single decision you made. Every A button press would be a big lurch in the engine.
That is true.
I would love to see a better take on that.
Yeah.
And maybe they probably already did though, right? There's probably a re-release that's better.
I don't think so. No.
I don't know because the only thing I've played from that team was I think like the Batman the Batman Telltale games, which I loved, but they were broken. Like I played it on my Switch and I like ran into like these crazy game breaking bugs, episode breaking stuff. But I liked it so much I replayed one of the episodes like 3 times, just trying to will myself through it. And then I Googled around, like maybe it's just because I'm on Switch or something. And people were like, there's problems everywhere, and they can pop up at any time. And I'm like, well, this is the first and last that I'm playing from this team. And then that became really true. So I'm sorry, but yeah.
Well, now they're back.
They never really ran quite well.
Now Telltale's back making that Star Trek game, right? Which is bizarre.
Well, the name is how many is the core team? Like, is any?
Well, I think some people from that team
they just bought the name.
Yeah, and then some, which I think the person involved with buying the name, Leo, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was like the original editor-in-chief of Game Informer. I forget her name, but I think she was associated with it in some way, which is really weird, like way back in 1991. But anyways, then there's like some core talent and leadership from Telltale that is making that Expanse game. So it's weird that Telltale's back in a couple different forms and they're making an Expanse Telltale game, more
it's like
or
a
less.
Harvest Moon situation all over again.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Like, it is, but it isn't. Now it's Story of Seasons. Oh, spoilers, neither is quite good. Like, just walk away.
It's confusing. Anyways, 2014, Dragon Age Inquisition. 2015, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. 2016, Uncharted 4. Yeah.
Inside or Overwatch was my game of the year kind of that year. So I'm a little surprised. And even looking back at it, because I'm thinking of like what outlets picked what. I'm a little surprised by it being the overall, but it's leading at 189 to 114 from Overwatch.
Didn't Stardew Valley come out that year?
That is
I only played Stardew Valley in 2016.
The only game.
And the fact that it's not on this, I played Stardew Valley and I played Overwatch.
Isn't that insane? Like,
but I feel like games media has changed a little bit to pick up some of these smaller games. Yeah. Because a lot of these early lists, I'm looking at them and I'm like, I didn't play any of these games, but I swear I was playing video games.
That is crazy that Stardew Valley is nowhere on this 2016 page.
Let the record show it was my #1 pick back then. But yeah, it is bonkers. I mean, Trackmania Turbo got more awards in 2016 than Stardew Valley. What a travesty. I like Uncharted 4, but I would take Stardew Valley over it. 2017, Breath of the Wild, indisputable. 2018, God of War. All right. 2019, what? Death Stranding.
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing here, buddy? That's amazing. I mean, I don't know. Janet, you're playing it now. Is there any chance that it deserves it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think I have to get like, I'm enjoying what I've played so far, even though I'm only a few hours in, but it doesn't strike me as like a game of the year. And looking at the runner-ups here with like, I think RE2, as much as y'all know how I feel about like remakes on these kinds of lists, but if we're just looking straight up the quality of the game. I mean, that's like, I feel like it's one of the best games ever, RE2 remake.
Absolutely.
It made like an incredible game even better. Like it is like the pinnacle of what remakes are. Like it's the top of a couple things.
Yes.
So yeah. And then Sekiro, I got to give that its flowers too. Like, not my kind of thing, but that was huge.
Yeah.
It is weird to see Death Stranding remembering that as more divisive. You know, I feel like people were split on that. But no, it's apparently the most agreed upon thing of the year.
And then 2020, which was Last of Us Part 2, which again, everybody agreed upon and loved. All right. Thank you, Pelican Man. Mike Lynch writes in, says, hey, cohorts. This is kind of a leading question. Says, Happy New Year. With the MinnMax Discord page lighting up green and yellow from all the new Wordle players, what mobile or daily game has taken over your life lately? Yeah, the answer is Wordle, Mike Lynch. Going in the MinnMax Discord every morning is so fun just to see everybody blast those Wordle, what would you call them? Results?
Sure.
Emoji grids?
Emoji grids?
That's more accurate.
Yeah. If you don't know what Wordle is, it is a small little game that you can play in your browser, on your phone or anything, and it's just, hey, here's 5 letters. Try and guess what the word is. And it's basically like Mastermind. Like, okay, you got 1 letter right, but it's in the wrong spot. And it's just a daily challenge there. Surprisingly addicting. It's like this thing must have existed so many times in the past, but for some reason right now, everybody in the world, it seems like, or at least in the games media, is obsessed with this thing.
And for some reason, it's every day at midnight. All my friends start posting there. It's like they can't wait to do their one puzzle of the day.
Okay, this is like sad share time, or maybe it's not sad. I don't know. But for me, like I would like to go to bed earlier. Typically, I go to bed at midnight, maybe like 1, 2 is maybe the latest I'll go. I'm like, I really should go to bed earlier. And now I feel like an additional incentive not to go to bed because I'm like, if I stay up to midnight, I can do the world before I go to sleep.
It's like Christmas every night.
Yeah, definitely. Like advent calendar energy from Wordle a little bit.
Sarah, are you too cool for Wordle? Is that what that head shake is implying?
It's not that I'm too cool for Wordle. It's that it has like infected all of my feeds. I had to block the word Wordle on Twitter because it's like I don't consent to being a part of whatever you're doing. Like it's like if I was playing Wordle, I'd be like, that's awesome. Yeah. But now you're putting it in front of me, and I've seen it so much. It's like it's sort of become my it's like a villain to me. I'm like, Wordle again? I'm here for memes. I don't know what this means.
Don't put it on Twitter. It's like a Hades clear screen. Nobody gives a shit. Put it in Discord if you really want to share it.
Yeah, it's like going back to that day when was it Uncharted 2 that had tied in where every time you beat a chapter, it would like update your Facebook friends about it? It's like, what are you doing, man? That's outrageous. I really like Wordle. If you want to play, it's WORDLE, and I like having like the MinnMax Discord because they kind of give you some hints. Like there was one word a couple days ago where everybody was like, I had to look this up afterwards to even see if it was a word. I've never heard this before in my life. I hate this. Do you remember what it was, Leo?
Truss?
No, truss. It was also debatable.
One with the pig?
Yeah, I think so.
I forgot what that word was because
to truss up
it's not real.
pig.
Yeah, that's right. The word was to truss up a pig, but the acronym for that. No, anyways, I forget what the word was exactly, but like I saw everybody just coming in with that. And so at a certain point, I was like, I'm not even going to try this one if I've never heard of this word before. But truss was debatable. Truss was on the edge.
I got truss just by brute forcing it. TRUS was right. And then
yeah, what is it?
Taper. Taper.
Oh, the animal.
Tapir.
Yeah,
you know that?
Oh no, I know
that?
taper. I knew that one. Yeah.
What?
I love a taper.
It's got the little like weird little nose thing.
Yeah,
no, it's got the messed up nose thing.
I just watched Encanto.
Okay.
They're all over the place.
Let me know in the comments if y'all knew what that was. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know anyone that knew what that was.
Do you know what a taper is? Look, we'll have a Twitter poll. I think it's like one of the coolest animals. It was like that was like a hipster animal to know as a kid. I feel like when I learned what a taper was, like it's weird to have a big thing.
I thought that's what a capybara is. It's like, oh, this isn't that,
I think so, but taper's bigger.
Animal.
A taper should be in the league of like a cow or an elephant or a rhino. It's something big and cool like that that's really unique that just you think is made up.
They're both pretty big in the random humor scene for sure.
Right. It's popping. Yeah, rebus is the word. Thank you. Everybody jumping in on chat at Backstage Pass. REBUS was the word that was like, not even going
That one
there.
was also weird. Yeah.
Leo, did I see you also over break playing Battle Royale?
Yes,
Steam?
a little bit.
Has anybody else seen this thing?
No.
It is a Scrabble Battle Royale, which is like, okay, I guess I can wrap my mind around it. But I didn't think that literally it'd be like, you're a tile like dropping in. You gotta choose where. It's amazing. You choose where you start and then like it slowly closes in. You like can get different skins for your letters and shit like that. It's so weird.
It's very silly. And it has taught me, a situation I didn't think I would have and didn't know I would respond to it this way. Seeing somebody else's letter or their word 5 squares away from you and having to hurry and think of a word before they do.
Yes.
Because it's about connecting to theirs rather than them connecting to yours. That's what gets you kills. That makes me freeze up so bad. Like that specific interaction, I'm
already stressed.
Way too overwhelmed.
I'm already stressed.
Hey, Morin writes in over on Patreon and they say, hey, Leo and the gang, below is a list of weapon names that the MinnMax crew needs to guess if they are real weapons from Destiny 1 or 2, or if they are fake weapons created in the name generator. So there's a Destiny weapon name generator online, and so you have to determine, are these real or are they fake? Did Bungie come up with these and actually implement them in the game? Leo, Skyburner's Oath.
No, that's fake.
That is real. Don't be a moron, Leo. Come on, man. Don't be embarrassing here.
I don't have it.
Sarah Podzorski, Burden of Demise.
I want it to be real.
But your guess
want
is...
it to be real. But I feel like it's not real.
So your answer is...
Not real. Is it real?
Wait.
Not real. It's not real.
Correct!
But they should make it real
as possible. Janet, The Lingering Prophecy.
I have no idea. Sure, real.
That is fake. Come on, get it together, everybody. Leo, Backhanded Compliment.
Real.
That is real. Of course, Sarah, Legend of Acreus.
Real?
Correct. Sarah, flawless so far. Janet, The Titanium Verdict.
Real.
That is fake.
I'm just going with the when you don't know anything at the school test. I'm just gonna whatever you ask me, I'm gonna say real.
It's really smart.
Statistically, those are my best odds because I'm basing it on nothing.
The equivalent of B.
Leo,
yes.
Happy Boomer.
Real.
That is real. Correct. Sarah Podzorski, Good Bone Structure.
I'm trying to think of what weapon that would even be.
Or if the generator would be capable of generating that.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm going to say it's real.
Correct! Sarah, Destiny Master, flawless
I've never played
victory.
I haven't played any Destiny. I don't know what this game is.
It sounds like you'd be good at it.
Yeah, and it has a horse in it, so it's a 1-2 punch.
I want the celestial horse, and that's it.
Ricky Winterborn writes in over on Patreon and says, hey, I just finished playing It Takes Two with my wife and was shocked at how good of a game it was. I agree, Ricky. My first thought was that Hazelight should make a fully 3D take on the old Mario and Luigi series. It's a good match, right? What do you want them to work on next? That'd be good. I mean, those are more RPGs, but I would, like, if It Takes Two, maybe minus some of the divorce stuff, but if it was just reskinned and released with, like, that platforming prowess and design sensibilities and interesting ideas, and it was just Mario and Luigi as you're playing as, people would be hailing it as the second coming of Christ. People would be saying, this is the greatest Nintendo game, Mario game since Galaxy, I really think. Yeah. I sincerely think that.
You're probably right. And that, well, I feel like it'd be a conversation. It would come up.
It would certainly come up. But yeah, I don't know. Does anybody have thoughts on what they want Hazelight to do after It Takes Two?
Whatever they want.
Thanks, Sarah.
If they're going to focus on split screen stuff, I can just say what me and my girlfriend really want someone to make, which is just a split screen game that's really pretty and has combat, but also has farming, but also has an open world that you can explore and come back and build your base and stuff.
So not a Stardew Valley.
No.
And not like a My Time at Porsche or something. You want like a good looking co-op farming game.
And split screen.
Split screen.
And do you want some monsters or no monsters?
Some monsters are welcome.
Okay.
Monsters welcome.
Okay. A little freaky.
Feels kind of like a Valheim Stardew Valley mashup.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like there are probably solutions for that, but only in online co-op. No one's making split screen anything meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
I was amazed. I just searched the other day that Sea of Thieves still doesn't have split screen. And I don't even think that they mentioned it or said that it's coming at any point, but I just assume that like a game like that, like, oh, it seems like a younger audience. It seems like they should try and get that running in split screen, but what do I know?
Man, those kids got PCs. What are you talking about?
I guess you're right. Yeah. Yeah, like in an interview that went up over the break, if you didn't catch it on MinnMax's YouTube, it was with Tim Schafer from Psychonauts 2, obviously, and then Josef Fares from It Takes Two, just talking about those games and designing platformers. But in that interview, Joseph says that he's seriously considering what a sequel to this game would look like for It Takes Two, which I hope they don't make sequels. Like, I enjoyed It Takes Two a lot, but I would love to see them make something just as bold and weird. That's it. You know?
Then they can bring the neglected child into it.
Yeah, the book. Ooh, just the book and the child going on a journey together. It sounds perfect.
It sounds horrifying.
It sounds horrifying.
I want to see a new genre because I feel like I don't know. What genre would you call Brothers?
Puzzle platformer adventure?
Puzzle platformer? Yeah.
I don't know.
Puzzle platformer sounds right. I feel like they've branched out at least a little bit. They kind of use like each game as like a fulcrum to the next like genre seed.
Right.
So even though like I think their platforming skills are like really like solid, I'd like to see a take on something else. So I think Leo's idea is cool.
Yeah, do that. Nick from Atlanta writes in and says, hey, Happy New Year, cohorts. It's 2022, and that means a brand new year of Fantasy Critic is happening. If you're not familiar, it's like fantasy football, but you're drafting video games you think will do well. I'd love for anybody that's interested, cohort or community, to join us in the community gaming channel in the MinnMax Discord, which community members can access for only $2 a month, says Nick from Atlanta. That's not my plug, it's his. He says, win bragging rights, maybe the respect of others, maybe more. So you choose games, and then based on the Open Critic score, you tally it up at the end of the year who did the best, which is a fun idea. So you can jump in there and join them. As a question, though, what are some sleeper choices of games that you think will do well this year, review score-wise, for 2022?
I don't know if it has a release date yet, but I'm looking forward to Stray, the Annapurna game. Yeah. I don't know if it's coming out in 2022, though.
It has the window for 2022.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that game.
I think...
But I don't know if it'll be a sleeper. Are you guys going to play it? This is how I'll judge it.
I'll check it out, yeah.
Okay, so it'll be a sleeper.
Wait, it's not on the top of like your... That's like one of my most anticipated games for the last like 2 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Like Cat, PlayStation Cat? Yeah.
You can't.
There it is. In terms of games that I think will do well review-wise for this type of thing, I think Gran Turismo 7 is one of those that none of us here are probably counting down the days until it releases, but everybody reviewing that game is going to be somebody that's been reviewing hardcore car games for a long time, and I bet that game's going to do very well critically, kind of like a Forza Horizon 5 situation. Otherwise, like Sifu, seems like people were really hot on it for the preview, so that seems like a safe bet, right, for jumping in there for reviews.
Dune Spice Wars will probably be PC Gamer Game of the Year.
Interesting. I hope so. I'm looking forward to that weird thing. Mick Munga writes in and says, a few episodes ago, Janet said how many games she beat during 2021. So how did the rest of MinnMax fare? Myself, I beat 44 different games. Although if I include multiple playthroughs during 2021, that number goes up to 55. My God, very impressive, Mick. Janet, what was your number again? The holy number?
Probably 49, maybe 50, but have some maybe embargo stuff that makes it not 50. So I would just say 49.
Interesting. Leo, did you count this stuff up on your end?
No, I didn't. But I doubt it would be many more than 10. I doubt it would be many more than my top 10. But yet Janet gets killed a fake gamer all the time, and I don't. Why would that be?
I know, it's weird. It's hard to guess what any reason of that could be. There's no way of knowing.
Yeah, I think I'd probably around like the 15 mark, probably something like that. But I counted that up, and I started 106 games. So if anybody,
I want to try to keep track of that next year, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Maybe a little bit meaningless, but kind of fun. Let's see. Mason Cowell writes in and says, hey, y'all. In the last 2 days, I put about 20 hours into Darkest Dungeon after waiting and waiting for the right time to play it for years. Turns out getting COVID is the right time to play a punishing turn-based dungeon crawler. All that to say, it's rare for a game to grab me that hard these days. What's the game you least expected to grab you that you got absolutely obsessed with?
FIFA, I think, was
really?
probably one of mine.
Really?
Yeah, just because I'm not that... least expect is a little strong because I've played some sports games in the past, but usually not the actual Sims. It'll be like arcadey stuff, with the exception of Madden in 03, which I only learned because my brother's like, you got to play this with me. And I'm like, well, I'm not just, this is what we're doing now. So I'm going to learn how to play it. And eventually I did kind of like it to a degree and learned how to like actually call plays and not just ask Madden every time I went up, which was my original strategy. But yeah, I love FIFA. I play it every year. I've been playing it every year since FIFA 16. And it's like one of my most played games, like consistently on whatever platform I'm on. And yeah, that one's an awesome one. I think for me, that one has also helped me understand like soccer and like soccer more because once you learn how to like watch the games, like they become a lot more exciting. So being able to like really see stuff, and I feel like they both kind of feed into each other's hobby, which is really fun. And yeah, I'm always doing like tournaments and stuff with my brother. I don't do any of the Ultimate Team stuff. Like I don't do any of like the regular stuff. I'm just like, it's just me and my brother, and we write out on a piece of like, presentation board, like this is our little tournament, and at the end someone wins, and it doesn't matter at all. We just do another one, and it's super fun. And Horizon, just because open world stuff doesn't always click for me, and I am like in love with that game.
Do you think it's the world, Aloy?
I think it's the fact that the combat's really damn good, and like I love the granularity of the like parts and it having like different weaknesses that are elemental based. Like I'm a big fan of elemental stuff in games, I think. And I feel like too, even though it's open world, the stuff that you can do is narrow enough that I want to do it all. And then like more stuff appears and I'm like, now I'll do that. And it has crafting. And I personally really like crafting in games. Like I'll walk around, I'm picking up all these twigs. Like I'm, looking for where can I farm rats? Cause like those are hard to find. And I just like every portion of it. Like, it's just and it reminded me of like, okay, I don't think I'm totally off base when maybe some of these other open world games don't fully click for whatever reasons, like Far Cry or to a degree even Ghost. I'm like, this is what the pinnacle of this looks like. And it just kind of reminded me of how great that genre can be when it's really singing on all its notes. But yeah.
Ted Ryser, new supporter at the Wall of Heroes tier. Thank you, Ted. Says, hey, how do you feel about discussing games in a professional setting? I was confused about what he meant by this, but let him go on. He says, I'm a dermatologist, and I'm always hesitant to bring up gaming even when patients are playing on their Switch when I come in the room. Part of me thinks it'd be a nice way to build rapport. Part of me imagines parents rolling their eyes as I compare my Halo Infinite rank with their kids. Ted, you should absolutely talk to people about video games. If they're playing a Switch at the dermatologist's office, absolutely. Don't be ashamed.
Especially if they're playing Halo on Switch. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, these kids are out of control. I assume it's in Roblox or something. But yeah, I mean, absolutely bring that up. I think that'd be a joy. And it would make the kid just eager to go back to the dermatologist's office. Just think of it.
Mommy, can we go again today?
TED Talks games. I don't know. Have you ever felt anything like this, Sarah? Hesitant to bring it up in a professional setting?
I mean, you'd have to like define professional setting.
Right.
Because it's like, usually I can talk to people about it. Like usually they'll be able to, it's surprising how many people play games. Honestly, everyone's like, oh, maybe it's not, everybody. But literally everybody has a game that they've played that they want to talk about. So usually you can put some time in with that. It wasn't a professional setting, but I was on like a 16-hour flight back from Japan to the US for the holidays. And I mentioned to the guy like next to me, he was just chatting me up, and I mentioned that I like worked in video games. And honest to God, he turned to me and he said, do you think video games are art? And it's a 16-hour flight, and that's who I had to sit next to.
And your answer was?
I said, it honestly depends on what you're talking about. Because there's not like an answer. That's a non-answerable question. You could say yes.
You could say yes.
Say no.
You could just say yes. Let it sit. Say yes and then ask for a seat change, I think is how it works.
Yeah. Excuse me. I need to move.
I can't think about this topic anymore.
Point to the in-flight games.
Yeah,
The word
these are
scramble and
art.
stuff. This is art. This is art.
Whoever's in 16C is doing really well at Scrabble.
Art.
They're redefining art. Doreen Claire writes in and says, hey, what do y'all think about New Year's resolutions? Do they get too much hate or just the right amount? How important is goal setting for y'all as a whole? Well,
What hate do they get?
yeah, I don't know. Maybe people are sick of them on Twitter somewhere. I assume somewhere in dark corners of the internet, people
I
have
see
turned
people
hard.
hating on New Year's resolutions. They're like, who cares? Like, it's just another day. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah, but Janet, you seem to be the master of resolutions. It's every day you're waking up earlier to run farther and to do 600 sit-ups instead of 500 and all that fun stuff.
Y'all know that after I do that kind of stuff, though, I do go to sleep, which I do post about too. But I guess I get enough credit because of the initial thing. Like, I'll run really far, but that's the one thing I do that day. Afterwards, I go to sleep. I shower, I eat, I sleep. That's the whole day. That one thing, that one moment of glory. But I like to, I think it's important to utilize the passing of time, even though time is arbitrary, but it is the way that we like conceptualize the world. So I don't think it's worth being like, oh, who cares? It's just like something we made up. It's like, yeah, but it's just, it kind of just helps with moving things along. And that's what I like about like holiday seasons and stuff too. Like I go all out for like Halloween and Christmas. Like it's just a fun way to make it more than just Tuesday,
right.
Yeah, I like to do resolutions and then I like to break those out into like monthly goals. How successful am I? It's pretty mixed. Usually I can get on a good year, like 30% of my resolutions, maybe, if
That's
that.
fine.
But I think one thing I want to work on is acknowledging just the good things that do happen, because those aren't always resolutions or things I plan for. And I want to be able to like acknowledge the success I do have, even though it's not the stuff I was initially gunning for. But yeah, I mean, I think it's good it's a nice reset time that we can all like reflect and maybe switch some things up.
Yeah, do it. Set one, everybody. Why the hell not? What's it going to hurt? Just to have something in the back of your mind, like, doing Better Quest for a year and a half with Jeff Cork. It is weird that I have this big list of things like, okay, should I do this for Better Quest? I don't know if I'm going to lock this in as my goal, but turns out even if it's not locked in as the goal for the month, it's just having these goals in a Google Doc. Like it propels you to do those types of things. You're like, oh yeah, this is my goal. I should just start doing that anyway, even though it's not a concrete thing. So just a nice reminder to improve in all these aspects. That's worth doing.
Yeah, I don't take the time at New Year's to think of resolutions or whatever, but I do have my goals split up by year. Historically, in my notebook, I have Ideal Me 2018.
I have that too.
Oh my God.
Wow.
But
But I don't do per year. That's hardcore.
So what is Ideal Year 2018? And are you that person yet, Leo?
Let's see. Well, I don't. I have Ideal Me 2021 on my desk right now.
Okay.
But who was Ideal Leo 2018?
I don't know that man.
A real stinker
Pilot's
online.
license. It's like, what? What was this on here?
More deep chats, not just with my girlfriend Marie, who we always have deep chats, but with everyone important to me.
Interesting.
Which I've been making progress in that direction.
Yeah.
Always growing, not working harder, but being more in touch with myself and focusing on what's important. I think that's important for me, is not reminding myself like, this stuff doesn't mean working harder, just like rearranging my goals. I don't know, there's a few things on there.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Leo. See, Sarah, aren't you feeling bad for scoffing now at the idea of setting goals for yourself?
Well, I didn't realize they were going to be good goals. I feel like my goals are always like dumb. Like this year I will work out more, and then I don't do it, and it just becomes a way to like be harder on myself. So this is the first year that I've just agreed like, okay, no goals. I'm just going to try to like do my best, take care of myself. Like it's 2022. I've been in a pandemic for 3 years. Like just to be nicer to myself, because I feel like sometimes I can take those resolutions and like turn them inward against myself. So we're just not going to do it this year. Yeah, that's smart.
Definitely. And important to also have on your list of goals is like be patient with myself in reaching these other goals.
I will fail a lot this year. Yeah. Justin Ray writes in and says, Happy New Year. Have you ever done the deepest dive and had a developer of the game reach out after? Yeah, a couple times. I'm trying to think of specific examples, but it is very sweet. And I just think about it from the developer's perspective of like, yeah, of course, if there's somebody that's going through exhaustive detail of your game, you would want to listen to that, right? Not saying like everybody needs to listen to if you're a developer, but I think it'd be the most interesting thing to listen to instead of just reading a review or something. Like, you know, Leo, I don't know. Do you remember, did you ever watch any of those reaction videos that people used to do to our rapid fire videos at Game Informer?
I watched one or two when I was the target.
It's really compelling. I really loved it because like to have second by second feedback of like, oh, should we have cut that joke? Did that joke totally not land? It turns out, yeah, most of them do not land at all or are just confusing outside of that room. And like, I guess when no one at GI speaks up, you don't know until it goes out there and then Call of Duty fans are watching it like, what the hell does that mean? That is stupid. This guy sucks.
I'm a diehard Spider-Man fan watching the Spider-Man one for information, and through every joke, just the consistent look on his face. Oddly gratifying.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember after The Last of Us Part 2 deepest dive, like Neil Druckmann was DMing about like specific moments in that deepest dive. I was like, oh, that makes me feel good. Because like Charles McGregor was on that one and he's a huge fan of Naughty Dog. So it's cool that like, oh, Charles McGregor got to voice his thoughts about Neil Druckmann's game. And Neil Druckmann listened to him for hours doing it. That's crazy. And it warmed my heart because in that deepest dive, I even remember we were joking around about Abby collecting coins and quarters and that about like, we're trying to predict what would happen in the future in the game because we're only like halfway through it or something. And we're like, okay, Abby's collecting all these coins. Maybe she's going to put them in a bag and then use that as a weapon and then say badass lines as she's like beating people to death with her sack of quarters.
Sack of nickels.
And then everybody in the community, because we were like, oh, it needs a good one-liner. She should have a one-liner for that. And everybody in the community submitted one-liners for what she would say as she's beating somebody to death with a bag of quarters. And somebody submitted one, which then Neil Druckmann quoted back to me, where was like, well, that's the greatest compliment, is he liked this joke, which was Abby saying, I'm going to put my money where your mouth is. Which is solid. Anyways, Chris Prohaska says, hey, gang, Hanson mentioned the director's commentary that was included in Thomas Was Alone on this week's MinnMax Council, the Patreon exclusive podcast. It got me thinking, if only there were modern director's cut versions of games today, what game, past, present, or future, would you most like to hear a director's commentary on? I know Hanson will hate this pick, but I'd really love one for Kingdom Hearts 3. Trying to understand the mind of Tetsuya Nomura would be worth any price they might charge for it. Here's a spoiler. You will never understand the mind of Tetsuya Nomura. Just let it go. You'll never get that insight, I promise. Yeah, commentary tracks you want in games.
Something like Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, where it's so clearly cut corners, like so clearly unfinished, as much as I adore that game. And you can hear those stories of like what was supposed to be here, you know, what was the idea behind this and what we didn't get to pay off about it. I feel like that'd be the most interesting.
Yeah. And that, I mean, in the realm of possibilities, it's like, I could see a world where Kojima at some point does something like that, an unofficial commentary track for all of his previous games, you know, somebody's a little more reflective, but
just a downloadable cassette tape pack to listen to while you play it.
Yeah. Yeah, my first thought was like Shadow of the Colossus or Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VII with Tetsuya Nomura so we can really understand what's happening in his mind. Those types of things, Chris. I love commentary tracks, though. I'd love more of them in games. Holden Hintz says, hey, Minnie Mouses, I use howlongtobeat.com as my gaming Bible. Oh, it's nice. I will reference it before, after, and during a game I play. I will let it decide whether I purchase a game or not. Thank you, Holden. He has, right here, a list of genres, and he's asking to give the perfect number of hours for each genre.
Ooh, okay.
I really like this as an idea. So we can all just jump out there.
And they're correct answers. It's a trivia.
Correct. Third-person action-adventure, which... 10 hours, I think, because I thought of like Uncharted or something where it's like, I think
12.
Yeah.
With or without side quests?
Without.
Well, what's
it's always main campaign, because there's main plus extras, and then there's completionist.
Yeah.
How long to beat.
But there's stuff like, oh, this could be Arkham Knight, and I would take a 10-hour Arkham Knight, but I think that might be a little bit light for open world stuff. So I think it kind of depends on open world or not here, Holden. But indie side scroller, ideal number of hours. 8.
Like a platform?
Is it a roguelike?
I think, let's say
just
platformer.
A platformer.
It says side
Okay.
scroller. Let's just assume platformer.
7.5.
7.5.
Because then I can pretend that maybe it's lower.
Yeah.
I was going to go 8.
I think that's good. 3D platformer.
How long was Mario Odyssey?
I think like 10 for me, somewhere in that window, 10 to 15.
Yeah, I'm thinking how long was It Takes Two, and if we can do like 2/3 of that would probably
It Takes Two
be
was so
ideal.
long.
Mario Odyssey, according to How Long to Beat, is 12.5.
It Takes Two, according to How Long to Beat. Yeah, I'm very curious because it's not that much more, but everybody was just insisting that it takes
12.
Look at that.
No, man. Well, I think that's proof that time is a construct, or that time is not a construct, but that time is what's relative to what you're doing. Yeah, no.
No. So somewhere it's the exact length of Mario Odyssey, but absolutely not the length of It Takes Two. That's the
100%.
Okay, got it.
Well, I think there's something to be said that you can feel the length in It Takes Two and you don't in Odyssey.
Yeah, probably. First person shooter campaign.
6 hours, 4 hours,
like 5 hours.
Yeah, honestly.
If there's like a bigger multiplayer behind it.
I think there's a reason that Titanfall 2 has the best campaign of all time for a shooter, and it's the fact that, it tightens it all down and gets it done in, 5 hours? It's just beautiful.
Titanfall's it.
That's right. JRPG.
Oh my God.
2 hours.
Is this how much I'm willing to put up with? Yeah, I was going to say like 40.
You're ideal. I think 30.
My ideal?
Yeah.
20. Under 10. 10 would be perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, if it was like 30, I would actually try them.
Right. It's like, you can do it. You can do it 30. Like, are you a Yakuza guy, Leo?
I've liked Yakuza in the past. Yeah, I fell off.
Okay.
I low-key fell off.
You didn't
Scarlet
play 7.
Nexus is 24.5 hours, Leo. It was pretty good from what I played of it, but I did not finish it.
You can't afford not to play Scarlet Nexus, Leo. Hey, look
I'll
at
say
this.
25 for JRPG because I do enjoy Yakuza.
Okay, there it is. Brandon Scott writes in and says, howdy, gang. What do y'all think about games forcing you to lose your equipment for a section of the game? That one island in Breath of the Wild and the Pit DLC in Fallout 3 come to mind. I really enjoy these sections because it encourages you to use weapons or abilities you normally ignored. What do you think about those sections?
I feel like it's the game developers trying to teach me a lesson that I don't want to learn. Right? Because they're like, remember when you had nothing? And I'm like, yeah, and I didn't enjoy that either.
I got out of that spot. It's such like a classic video game thing. I'm almost excited every time it happens because it reminds you like, yeah, this is a video gamey ass video game I'm playing. They're doing the video game thing for this section. You got to have it.
I wish I could know that whether or not I was getting it back after, though, because sometimes you don't get it back after.
That is, yeah, just a heads up. I don't know how they do that narratively to be like, okay, you're in a tough spot, Solid Snake, but don't worry.
Like, are you sure you don't want to put this in a crate for I don't know.
Right.
Village had a great one.
I was thinking Village too.
Depends on the game and how well that section is designed to where you're not just like missing stuff constantly. In Village, it was exciting to go, oh, my tools are kind of pared down here, and I kind of know better what I need to do because I don't have so many options of what to do. But I like those sections too. Red Dead 2 also has a great one when you're kidnapped.
Ooh, yeah.
I died a lot. I just ran for it.
Smart. God, I was looking at some Red Dead Redemption 2 gameplay over the break again. I always forget how good that game looks. Like, I think like somebody on Reddit shared a clip, and not to make this more horsey, but shared a clip, I don't know if anybody else saw this, of like, it was an animation of them jumping a fence with a horse in Red Dead 2, but the horse's hoof got caught in between things on the fence, and it was like, ree, ree, and it was all like beautifully animated. Like, how do you account for that? It is so bonkers. So then I just went down this rabbit hole of watching like old videos where they dissect the animations of horses in Red Dead. Sarah, I think what I'm trying to say is I have become a horse girl officially because I was very into it. It was
Welcome
really
to
fun.
the club.
Thank you. Tanner Metvin says, hey, everybody, I've been watching the new season of Cobra Kai, and one character plays a game that looks like a cross between Fortnite and RuneScape. This prompted me to go down a rabbit hole of video games and other media, and now I have a little trivia game for you. Each question will be about the mention of it or a depiction of a video game in a movie or TV show. Thank you, Tanner. All right. Here we go. The 1997 John Cusack film Grosse Pointe Blank features what id Software game as an arcade cabinet? Is it A, Wolfenstein 3D, B, Doom 2, C, Quake, or D, Leo, is it Tiles of the Dragon?
Quake?
Sorry, this was a Doom 2 arcade cabinet, apparently, in the John Cusack film. Number 2, some of the most common mistakes are scenes where two people play single-player games at the same time. Janet, which PlayStation 1 game had that honor in the 2000 Charlie's Angels movie? Was it Resident Evil 2, Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, Final Fantasy VIII, or Parasite Eve? What were two people playing together with two controllers?
The first one, Resident Evil 2?
No, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VIII, there were two controllers plugged in, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Final Fantasy fans, in 9, can you play with multiple people? Is there secretly a co-op thing? Is 6? I know there's the co-op Final Fantasy thing. There's an undercurrent where it's possible in some games. Anyways, let's see. It's Sarah in True Blood. When one character's older mother needs to be distracted, they say she'll get focused playing Wii. What game does she play? Dead Space Extraction, Red Steel, Mad World, or House of the Dead Overkill?
That was gonna be Elebits.
What? I was thinking
Wii
like
Fit would be in there.
Wii Tennis, Wii Golf, Wii Fit.
No, she needs to.
Can I hear?
She needs to relax. I get distracted by Dead Space Extraction, Red Steel, Mad World, or House of the Dead Overkill.
I'm gonna go with the Red Steel one.
Sorry, it's Dead Space Extraction.
Okay. I don't know what any of those are.
I would have thought House of the Dead.
Leo, in the 2005 film Jarhead, Jake Gyllenhaal mockingly asks a fellow Marine what he'd be doing if he was a civilian, saying he'd be staying... Oh, this is vulgar. He'd be staying up late, jacking off, playing blank, trying to get to that 9th level. Another Marine interjects saying, you know what happens when you get there? Nothing. You start all over again. What game are they talking about where you start all over if you get to the 9th level? Is it Super Mario Brothers, Medal of Honor, Galaga, or Metroid?
Wow. Galaga?
No, Metroid apparently is what they say you start over with if you get to that 9th level, which we all recall, which is why it was honored with MinnMax's Game of the Year for the community. Okay, Janet, on Law & Order SVU, Ice-T discusses a game with its developer and says, quote, I read on blank that it's better than Civ 5 with the Brave New World expansion pack.
I swear to God, I watched this episode.
What website did Ice-T read this on? Was it IGN, GameSpot, Kotaku, or Game Informer? It's not a hard question. Just which site is Ice-T the biggest fan of?
I feel like it's not IGN or Kotaku, so I'm going to say it's Game Informer.
Oh, we would have lost our minds if that happened. But no, it is Kotaku, of course. He's a big Kotaku fan. Yep, huge fan. There we go. Thank you, Tanner, for doing all that research and writing all those in.
Interesting.
What do y'all like for question of the week?
Let's go through all the ones I remember.
I like Doreen Claire's about the New Year's resolutions. I thought it was a basic one, if I may. But then I think Leo whipping out his journal was something I didn't expect.
Let's meet Ideal Leo.
Mm-hmm. We met
Special
Ideal
guest.
Leo. That's right.
I can't wait to meet him in 2023 at the end.
Yeah, I'd say give it about 2026.
Hang on. Pelican Man wrote in about that one about former games of the year. I mean,
I think that one had some good conversation.
I want to do a whole podcast on just the information on GameAwards.net.
So you want to give it to Pelican Man?
I would.
Sarah, will you please abide by this?
I will abide by it.
There we go. Congratulations, Pelican Man. You won Question of the Week. Thanks to I'm8bit. They're going to ship out that copy of Carto. Now it's time for something that we, of course, call Get a Load of This. And these are going to be super good because we had the entire break and more. Really this is like 2 months worth of getting loads of stuff and then just blasting it. Leo, what do you think?
What?
Do you have a Get a Load of This?
I was pulling up my Get a Load of This.
Yeah, do you want to read it though?
Oh, great. Get a load of this.
Okay.
So my cat hates human food, remarkably. My cat Doctor. Even chunks of meat, things you'd think he would like, he just has no interest in. And historically, for the last few years, he'd not only not be interested in my meals, but he would scratch like he was in the litter box next to them, calling my cooking poop.
Wow.
Is how I always interpreted it.
Wow, Doc.
But I learned recently that the reason cats do that, scratch around human food or their food, is actually because they're miming their instinct of hiding it from predators.
Oh.
And so really what he's trying to do is protect my food.
Oh.
Nobody else eats it.
That's beautiful. So they're also trying to protect their poop from predators?
That's a different kind of scratching.
You're mistaking that instinct for the other one, is what the article that I'll link.
The cats can only do like 3 things, so they just alternate all these behaviors for different things.
I love it. I love it. That's beautiful.
Gotta look at the intent, though.
Hey, get a load of this. This Billie Eilish character we all know and love. There's on SNL a little while ago or something, right? Weird fact. Does everybody know who Billie Eilish's mom is? Because
yes.
Okay.
She's a famous lady. So is her dad, though, too.
But her mom apparently is an actor, and she was the voice of Samara in Mass Effect 2. For a weird little factoid. So there we go. There's a connection between Mass Effect 2 and Billie Eilish. I will pause for wowed sounds from the audience. Thank you. Thank you for sending those our way. Sarah, you feel really good about yours?
Mine's a so-so one.
Okay, great. Hit us. Let's go.
Not a lot of news in this 2022. I've been keeping track of, now that the Final Fantasy VII Remake is available on PC.
That's right.
I've been keeping track of all the mods that are slowly being integrated into the game. And some of my favorites are the McDonald Sephiroth, where he looks like a crazy version of Ronald McDonald, here to murder you. And they look like this in the cutscenes.
That's amazing.
The model's completely different. Replacing a model of Scarlet with Cloud's Buster Sword. So you're just swinging a body around instead of a sword. And then there's like the usual ones, like Cloud gets to wear his gorgeous dress the entire game. They all get to wear their like fancy schmancy dresses. And then there's just a weird one that just puts dirt on Aerith's face. There's just like a smudge of dirt on her cheek. And then I really appreciate there's some quality of life ones that are in, so you can put more materia onto some of the bracelets than you could before.
Okay.
There's one that will just 100% your game if you don't want to have to switch over your PS4 stuff to PC.
That's smart.
So you can just put that one in. So yeah, I'm really, I don't know, it's going to be so long before the next one comes out. I might play this on PC again.
Ooh, that'd be awesome.
With all the mods installed for my entertainment.
Yeah.
What mod would you put in?
All of them. I want the Scarlet as the Buster Sword. I want Cloud in a dress. I want McDonald Sephiroth. And I want the updated materia slots.
Just make it
so
goof
it's
town.
easy.
Absolutely.
I want it to be easy.
Got it. Hey, get a load of this. Mike Lynch in the Discord, he shared this clip, which is a tweet, which the Twitter user Whitehat94 says, why does the intro to Terminator 2 on Super Nintendo do the exact same gag from Austin Powers? And I had never seen Terminator 2 on the Super Nintendo, but obviously we know Terminator 2 opens with Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, some would say, going back in time and being naked. And I guess in the opening of this side-scroller in Super Nintendo, you're naked Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then you're walking towards the bar to the right, but they have a fence, like perfectly covering his genitals. And then where the fence goes away, like a motorcycle times by just perfectly. It's just some good genital fun stuff for the Super Nintendo, everybody. So there's a link below if you want to see it.
Get a load of it.
Yeah. Hey, Janet, what do you got?
Get a load of this. Xbox is collabing with a nail company to make nail polish that matches your controllers or can match your controllers, and then you get in-game cosmetics that's also that hue. So I'm just I always like these little collabs that folks do, and this is one I don't think I would have expected at all. So yeah, seems fun.
Yeah. Do you think Forspoken will try and do something like that when the game comes out? Because the whole thing is about giving yourself buffs. Yeah, and you got the fingernail polish is like the big thing in that game. I think
Forspoken going to do something, because I feel like the Forspoken vibes have been not great the last like few weeks.
A little rough.
Could use some positivity.
Yes, Kyle and I talked about it in a standalone video if you want to check it out on our YouTube channel. All right. Plugs, everybody. What do we got going on? Leo, what do you got going on, man?
Just shot my new video. It'll be going up next week on youtube.com/LeoVader. I'm really excited about it.
Nice.
Big one ring in the new year. It's about cereal mascots.
Oh, I love cereal mascots. Sarah, what do you got?
Oh, I just got my Twitch channel at SarahPods. We are playing through Nier Automata, a game that I have never played before, despite being in the office when people were working on it.
That's bizarre.
So, yeah, I just put on the blinders. I was busy. So we're working through that, and then you can follow me on Twitter, also at SarahPods.
Love it. Janet.
I'm everywhere on the internet at GameOnysus. That's GameOnysus. And you can check out my writing on my site, Pen2Pixels, because I plan on writing a lot more this year. Spoilers for when I eventually announce like what's new to my content this year, but I want to write more. So you can check out the lists I have already on there and reviews, previews that I've had posted as well.
Awesome. Love it. Let's see. At MinnMax's end, we have MinnMax Council, which is our Patreon exclusive podcast. Kyle joined me this week. We talked about Licorice Pizza, the new movie from Paul Thomas Anderson. So if you're interested in that type of thing, we talked about the Ken Levine news about his game going through some development woes, according to Jason Schreier and Bloomberg. We also talk about reaction to the 210s. Kyle breaks down his trip to Hawaii, a bunch of fun stuff in there, so check that out. Also, we mentioned it before, but the deepest dive on Halo Infinite, that is up on our YouTube channel and in the Patreon exclusive podcast feed, the same place where MinnMax Council is, our bonus podcast each and every week. Speaking of bonus podcasts, Jeff and Janet and I recorded a bonus podcast about what we played over the break that is up on YouTube and also in that same Patreon exclusive podcast feed, so you can unlock all of those. Also, thank you to Hugo in the community. He designed this shirt, the Deepest Dive t-shirt, which is like the collage of all of the characters from stuff that we've done the Deepest Dive on, and we updated it for 2022. Like a Smash Brothers mural, some would say. So we added all the new Deepest Dives that we have done. So that is available at our merch store, which you can just search MinnMax merch. You'll find it there. It's also on our official site, but it's a very cool look. And so it's got Samus right in front and a bunch of other fun stuff there. So you can check that out. All right, that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, for watching or listening. We're excited about the new year. And thank you to everybody at the Thank You Crew, the $50 tier on Patreon. We're talking new people. We're talking Ted Ryser, DivergeCoffee.com, Fixture Gaming's Fixture S1, I Am 8-Bit, Zachary Pligge, Ludwig Roque, Andrew Uerkwitz, Drew Waranis, Andrew Vala, BeatenDownBrian, PrettyGoodPrinting.com, John Higby, the Lord of the Rings card game, MisterNomer, Jawarhello, Ronn with 2 N's, Steve Bamdad, Clemens Zobel, Purebred number 6, Starkiller, Spider-Dan, Preetham Yarlagadda, General D99, and Kris. Thanks so much, everybody. Be good, have fun, let's go.